I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my bones as in desert crumbs blown. Don't turn all of my stones.
Rock bottom make a man and some pressure make a gemstone. Trying to put $1 to my name like Creflo. Ninja boy, late to the game, it's in the blood flow. And I'm from the south, it's thick skin and tough bone. Big attitude through big lips with gusto. Trust no kings, that's why they tried to crush souls. But it's IGBO, when the dust blow, this old head be standing there. No silver, just gold. Crack no books on the hustle, I was born to grind. Yo, I'm scared of your potential, I'm adorned with mine. 30 times around the sun, man, of course I shine. My legacy will not dwarf with time. And in my daughter's eyes, it's basic, I must not say quit. Every day sees a present like a Rob St. Nick. Walk a fine line between tenacious and patient. I can't slip, I'm fighting clocks and they can't win.
I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my bones as in desert crumbs flow. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Ooh, that soldier in the mirror, oh oh. I'm gonna turn all of my stones.
Impeccably I flow, hardest raps you know. Breaking status quo, reaping what I sow. Artistry like Django, get it from my mama, hip so thick that I need tempo. Personality spicy, body banging like a bongo. Cause black women been it since Timbuktu, since Pharaoh. Sponge rollers and hot combs, lips, cheeks and brow bones. If you ain't for the culture, then please stay out of my zone. These little dummy rappers could never grace my headphones. See, I'm from a place in space where ain't no storytelling, you just had to have been there. If you want the battle, ain't no problem, stay where. I got so much experience, I can't even play fair. But I'ma keep evolving and growing and hurting feelings and showing. You need endurance to go in, I got mileage on this pen. I've been busy cause I've been out here schooling all these kids. Took 3 decades to have this glow up that I did.
I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my bones as in desert crumbs flow. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Ooh, that soldier in the mirror, oh oh. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. Turn all of my
checking shoes last night to see if he was barefoot. Is that still the case? Is he barefoot? Because I know on Facebook somebody posted a picture of these could be his shoes, or is that so he is presumed to be barefoot at this point?
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
All right.
Allegedly!
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant.
Judgment, Arthur.
Oi, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinin.
You mean shining?
Shh, you wanna get sued?
Judgment, Arthur.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a running. But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie's time.
Hey, yo, boss. I love it when he does that.
Let's watch.
Don't get me back to good bullshit.
I'm sorry, I was. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here, coming at you with another raw narrative. And it's so good to be here with all of you guys today. Thank you so much for joining this live stream. So we do have some breaking news tonight that broke on Jen's channel yesterday. So I was in the chat, and we were also talking about the subject on Kiki's 2025 true crime. Go sub up to Kiki. We were trying to get her to 1K, and I think we got her past 1K yesterday, I want to say. But either way, go sub up to Kiki. She works really hard and she's an awesome creator. So go check her out. But we did, I do kind of want to play a little bit of her live tonight and then just talk about Splash the Otter because he is very important in Sebastian's case. He has been well, I don't know that he's been a part of the search, but his handler is working with the TBI, and that's the big takeaway that we got from Jen's show yesterday about how we need to figure out if this has been done or not. It's important because there was these big holes back when Sebastian went missing in the neighborhood right next door to him, right? So you would think that they'd be checked, but there wasn't this type of technology back then because Splash is kind of new, right? He's 2 years old himself, but he's also not the typical means of finding human remains, right? But somehow his handler figured out that he could train this animal and he could go to places that no one could go to using his whiskers as sonar that detect bones. And then there's also a bunch of um, different smells that he can smell and decipher whether it's human remains that have been down there or not, right? He also can find cars underwater, right? But when we do that, we typically have to use the sonar, and then they use magnets and things like that to drag and try to see if they can hit metal. So, really important um, stuff here. And I'm excited to share it with you guys. I didn't want to go live last night because I had some other research I wanted to do. And so, of course, I took a night off and I've been exhausted as of late. Um, Give me 1 second. Okay, here. Thank you, Jen. And so, yeah, I wanted to just shout you guys out really quick. And thank you so much for being here, Gail and Scarlet Begonias. So good to see you. And hey, Chuchi, thank you for putting in the disclaimers. We are going to talk about tough subjects, right? Because that's what we do here in the true crime. Viewer discretion is advised. Sometimes my mouth pops off in night court. So you just want to make sure that, anybody in earshot can't hear what we're talking about. It is just so sad, guys. Sebastian Rogers has been missing for way too long. I never thought that his case would go on and on like this. But I wonder if there are just something that we missed in the beginning, and going all the way back to the beginning, I think is going to help us figure things out. I think it'll put more into perspective, especially knowing now what we didn't know back then while we were watching the story unfold. If we go back and look at things, we can really figure out what's gone on. Um, so again, very important to discuss those topics, in my opinion. And Bo is here. Good to see you, Bo. Thank you for being here. And Jen, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Jen. And thank you for all your hard work in doing the lives about Splash, and also to our friend Jilly. Big shout out to our friend Jilly. Guys, we really need to focus on looking for Sebastian. Everything else is kind of not important, in my opinion. Now, it's good to talk about Sebastian's case, but in my opinion, looking for Sebastian, trying to find him, really trying to find him is what matters the most. And Witchy Mama is here. Hey, Witchy Mama, good to see you. And Cinderella, thank you guys so much for the green hearts. And Cheryl is here, our friend Detroit. Hello, Detroit. And let's see here. I don't want to miss anybody. Hey, Funtuski. Just got home. Good evening to you all. Lady Freedom Mods in chat. Good evening, Funtuski. I'm so glad you got off of work, and I hope you get to relax. And Kylie's Nail Candy is here, and Shadow is here. Hello, guys. Aw, thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much, Jen. I had to go look for my Cash App. I need to put it on my channel. I know, and I need to do the goals sometimes because I know I just forget. That's okay, Lady Frida. Sometimes my mouth pops off in night court too. And in afternoon court. I can't forget that. I can't forget about that too, which because I do try to do the day shows. Yeah, it was just oh gosh, the last couple of days. But I want to fit in some day shows again. I always try to, and it's kind of hit or miss. So I think a lot of you guys were in here when we talked about Splash. But I do want to show you guys just this quick video just to, get you guys thinking about how he came to be. And I think this is a good one that kind of demonstrates what they've done with him so far, like his training and how he's the only one. He's the lonely otter that is trained in this art, but his handler is so convinced. Michael, he says, they're going to be issuing otters to us, in the future, and I think he's absolutely correct because once you can see exactly what Splash is capable of, you'll be amazed, and if you're not, then I don't know what to do for you. I'll turn my camera on and dance for you. Um, some solid gold, I'm just kidding. All right, so Brenda Calvert, good to see you, Brenda Calvert. So, and Splash is so cute. Okay, so Funtuski, yes, thank you, because I totally forgot to mention he's like the cutest little splashy otter guy I've ever seen. And he bites. Now he does bite. You're gonna find out about that he bites, but that's okay. We need someone feisty to get into these basins, right? We're looking, and also I want to remind everyone what we're doing here, and I'm gonna show you guys a visual of this. Is that we're thinking about the fact that there were these huge holes, right, that lead to these pipes, and then they have a basin, and then it's a pipe and a basin, right? And that's how the water system works there. And with each basin collects sediment and rubbish and all kinds of weird stuff down in there, right? If anything is flowing through there, it's going to kind of separate from the top water and the water is going to flow through the pipes. And there was some flooding in the area also. So I want you guys to just imagine that runoff, right? And then also the retention ponds are also a part of this water system because they catch the rainwater, right? But there's water underneath, and that's what we're talking about in pipes and basins underneath the earth. Okay, and that's to manage the water in case there's a big flood, which there was. And there was weather when Sebastian went missing. Thank you, Jen. Yeah, so flooding 3 months after at Drake's Creek, right? So, I mean, we're dealing with the elements, we're dealing with systems that we've created, right? Men have created these systems in order to let the water flow freely, and so it won't just back up and everybody, Shackle Island will be literally underwater. Shackle Island is a lot of water, guys, and if you've ever been to the area, you would know that like either side of the road over by Sebastian's house is like another creek or another little waterway, right? It's really pretty and green and lush around there, and then there's water flowing through in all of these different areas, or if you've watched like TL, like back when she would go and there was a lot of her videos that showed how much water is in the area, but you just don't know until you go there. But I'm here to tell you, there's a shit ton of water. All right, so here we go. Okay, guys, I forgot. I got a little bit of reading to do for you guys that are just listening in. So let me just back this up a little bit. All right, so the otter trained to detect human remains is Splash. This is Splash. He's so cute. He's in my thumbnail. He is an Asian small clawed otter who works with Peace Canine Search and Rescue. Peace River. I'm sorry, excuse me. It's called Peace River Canine Search and Rescue because in the beginning they had dogs, right? He's an animal trainer. He's a dog handler, but then he realizes, wow, we can use Mr. little guy over here, Mr. Otter, to get in the murky water where we have very low visibility, and he can use his whiskers as sonar, and they detect human remains, right? So he works with his the otter Splash. He works with his handler Mike Hadsel. Okay, and Splash is believed to be the first search and rescue otter in the United States and is frequently utilized by Florida law enforcement, including the Martin County's sheriff's office, right? And we learned yesterday that they are, I know, he's so cute. Now I'm watching Otter videos, Jen. That's the thing about it. I'm like, oh, I got to know everything about these little guys, and they're so cute. It's fun to watch them. And he's smart as hell, but he's got his own personality. I just love him. TBI could request a backhoe for cleaning out the outlet. In my opinion, they get Summit County Roads Department and Department of Transportation if it's main I'm going to say arterial, in my opinion. So yes, I think the bigger thing is like what's all catching too, because we don't know how far anything would have made it. It might have just made it to that very first basin if it is in fact Sebastian. And guys, I hate thinking about this reality of the situation, but if we can clear it, that's the big takeaway, right? Yeah, the basins. Jen made me say it with her early. She says the basins. I said the base the basins. No, we need to search the basins, right? And that's where the water catches. And this little guy can go in there, guys, and he can detect these odors that we leave off of our body when we're not, alive anymore. And that's the biggest thing. That's the key for our friend here, Splash. And we do know that the TBI has worked with Splash's search and rescue team here, Mike Hadzel's team. And that is huge breaking news, guys, because here's the thing. We all don't know what's truly going on behind the scenes in terms of searching for Sebastian. We don't know. And there is camera footage, in my opinion, that they have had since day one, day two, collecting more. They called out for people to give them footage on a larger scale about 3 or 4 days into the search. So they were getting everyone sending them their footage. So I cannot believe for 1 minute that they don't have a good idea of what may have happened to Sebastian, although they're not going to give all of that out. So yeah. And I mean, here's the thing. There's about 20 to 30 basins. So just keep this in mind as well, because I forgot to mention it. There's about 20 or 30 basins that catch sediment and dirt and everything in them in between of the area that we're focusing in on here. So it's about a half a mile to a mile, Jen. Is that accurate? And that's what we're looking at, and so there's a lot of places that Splash could go to and search in and see what's going on, right? But yeah, they just didn't have that technology, in my opinion, back then. Okay, and then how his training in scent detection works really quick, underwater smell. So otters are one of the few animals that can smell underwater, right? And they smell underwater, okay? Splash releases the air bubbles onto a target, captures the scent particles in the bubbles, and quickly sucks them back in to taste the odor. So he's not really using his nose to smell the odor. He's using his taste. When they're alerting the handlers, he is trained to detect over 500, right, volatile organic compounds unique to human remains, and he can distinguish human bones from animal remains, right, because he uses his whiskers that have sonar on them. Hey, Seth. Good to see ya. So how does Otter alert that he's detected something? So interesting. Yeah, Brenda. So yeah, sorry, I didn't see your comment before that. So yeah, he alerts them. Now he'll signaling the dives in low visibility conditions where divers can't see. Splash signals of find by either resurfacing, right, and screeching. So he does a screech, and you'll hear a screech in the video, or gently tugging on the diver's mask, right? So he'll alert them. He'll let them know, hey, I found something. And if you look at his little fingers, like he's got little hands. It's so cute. And they're webbed, right? Because he's like aquatic. He's a carnivore also, for those of you who are wondering. Um, shouldn't be a routine maintenance to keep them clear of debris. Yeah, I mean, I would think so. Yeah, I would think so, Detroit. Sure. And they might not even know that it's clogged up. I don't know. Um, oh my gosh, I want Splash too. I just want him to help us out and see, you know. Jen says if he bites me, we got issues though. Oh my gosh. Hey, Ann Reynolds. Good to see you, Miss Ann. Oh my goodness. The city would have to be doing their job. Well, and that's the thing. I don't know. Maybe they just don't know. Maybe they're like, you know, Cheryl, it depends on the budget. And if it's a snow year, costs are higher. Yeah, well, that's the thing. And then gas. Gas prices are outrageous at the moment here, Buntuski. I think he's only been working for the last 8 months. Okay, thanks, Jen. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, there's no way that they probably could have. That's why I'll just say this. This is why I'm assuming, right, that they haven't utilized his services yet, which is exciting. But I think it's so important to remember that, again, a big thank you to the TBI, right, for working with other entities. Because look, guys, let's just be honest. There's a big elephant in the room. There's a huge elephant in the room. Because I feel it, and I'm like, okay, they're looking for Sebastian. If they weren't, they wouldn't be utilizing these people. And there were a shit ton of rumors and people saying they've refused help and they're not wanting to take on help. And we've given Craddock a lot of shit for it. But here's the thing. We now have proof that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they are actively searching. So we have to find Sebastian in order to really know what happened, you know? Hey, Seth. And I just love Seth. I want him to have his son back. That's the goal, you know? And if we can clear this area, because look, my excitement over this is not because I think Sebastian's, you know, not with us anymore. And I've always knew he was in those, you know, in this place. No, I didn't. And no, I don't want to think of it like that. I hate to think of it like that. You know, hey, Mama's World from New Mexico. You know, I mean, I hate it. But we have to explore it, because if we don't, then we're not looking at everything. So yeah, so he'll screech, guys. He will tug on the mask. He can detect 500 different organic compounds, only unique to us humans and what we, you know, our remains. Also, track record. Splash has been deployed on dozens of missions across the country and has successfully completed multiple forensic recoveries, right? So he's awesome. And, you know, Lady Freedom just wants to pet the damn otter. Oh my goodness. I thought it was so cool that they like took him in the pool and stuff and he was just like swimming around. So he's so cute. Yeah, I know. I want to hug him too, Jen. They're just so cute. I'll be like, don't bite me. That's right. And that's right. We have to leave no stone left unturned. And I love that they are utilizing and have utilized other resources, because I think that's what frustrated a lot of us, is that it's like, you know, you hear, oh, they're not taking anything in. But, you know, I also want to remind everybody in Devlin's case that until I was speaking with the SAR guy myself, that's what everyone was saying on Facebook, and it was brutal. It was like Sebastian's case, but on Facebook, right? Like bickering and and just hateful. Everything was horrible. And then I find out that they are searching, right? Because I put out the flyer and I said, does people have boats in the area? You know, and I'm like, I got to know if you can help. And I had somebody reach out, right? So I think that it's important to get everybody on board, but it's also important to remember that the police are going to move in silence. They're not going to tell us what they're doing, especially in this case. Like Craddock does not want to talk about it. He doesn't, you know? Oh my God, Lily's going to be so cute. I think that I'll have more fun watching her reaction. Jen, oh my gosh, she's just so cute. The Otter. You all might not see me anymore. I'm sick of living this way. Oh, Miss Anne, don't say things like that, love. We love you. You know, you're a part of the dragon tribe. Just, I'm sorry that I wasn't on yesterday either. I've been so sporadic. This month, I knew it was going to be like this, though. I did. I did. And you know what, Miss Anne? Sometimes they'll have like a delivery. Can they send them to a different pharmacy? Maybe they could send them over to a different pharmacy for you. My goodness. Brenda, I would love to know how Splash and how his handler can determine the location, especially when the pipes are long. Yeah, so I think that he would have to probably be prompted to come back after every one. But I do think that that's interesting as well. That's a good point. Um, yeah, how they can determine the location once he's all the way in the pipes. I know what you're saying. Because if we're looking at 20 to 30 basins, how is Splash going to let us know where he hits on specifically? And I think that's a very good point. Would a camera be sent with Splash along with a tape measure? A camera would be a good idea. Yeah, a camera would actually help us determine what he's doing in there or if he alerts. And we talked about that too the other night. So, aw, thank you. Thank you, Jen. Aw, I love your heart too, Jen. And Jen, these locations and these hot spots that you pick out, I mean, are very, in my opinion, legitimate spots that we need to look into. And hey, Joni, an Army vet is here. Good to see you. Waking up from a gummy, that's funny. Miss Anne, I hate to hear that. Yeah, I know, Miss Anne. I hate that too. Aw, you guys are so sweet. Yeah, I was gonna say, okay, they do have Walmart. Okay, great. Yeah, I was thinking you might have to ask them if they don't. You know what I mean? Sometimes they don't tell you that kind of stuff, you know? Hey, Holly S., good to see you. Oh, you guys have bad storms tonight? Oh my gosh, we had rain all day today. Yeah, it was raining all day today, but it was kind of nice because I slept in. So, yeah, we love Army Vet. We love Army Vet. And my PTSD is here. Hey, good to see you, my PTSD. So, I think there's one more little bit of writing here. Share with you guys. Oh no, okay, this is Splash the Otter. All right, so I can play through here. Here we go.
Tonight, there are at least 2,366 open cases for tonight.
Sorry, guys. I just wanted to point this out. So this is May 2nd of 2025 that they did a news story on Splash, right? And they're saying that, you know, he's out there doing his thing. And this was one of the first stories that I could find. So we're just guessing about using this as a timeline indicator, right? May 2nd, 2025 is a while after Sebastian had already been reported missing. So again, I'm just assuming that Splash can be a very good candidate to help us identify if maybe something happened. And you know, here's the thing also I wanted to point out. We don't know if there is any indication that Sebastian left. I think he would be caught on camera, right? I'm thinking he would be caught on camera, but we just don't know. we just don't know that. And if he did make it into the neighborhood next to him, that these big holes, these big gaping holes were, open, there could have been something that happened there, so oh, you got Pearl and Otter. That's cute. That is so cute. I know he does sleep in the bed with the guy. It's so cute. He's like a little dog. So, oh no, Seth. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. All right, guys, here we go.
Tonight, there are at least 2,366 open cases for missing people in the state of Florida. It's heartbreaking for families and often a painstaking search for clues. Tonight, a unique four-legged approach to finding missing people with a cute little carnivore named Splash.
Florida is a water state.
They are the wild waters where people play and predators prowl.
We see the ones on the surface, but we never see the ones down at the bottom.
A place where search teams look for signs of life and sometimes the secrets of death.
The scent will generate for a long time.
Now, this curious carnivore is joining the search for clues.
It's going to be her car. It's a dark red maroon Chrysler wagon. Yeah.
It is a moment of success after a dark mystery, decades in the making.
We just found Maureen Sherman, dude.
Divers with Sunshine State sonar find a car belonging to Maureen Sherman.
Dave is pulling trees off the back of the car right now.
150 feet from her townhome at the bottom of a Miami-Dade canal.
They said we looked and she wasn't there. I think that was the honest end of their search.
Inside are the remains of the mother of four, missing for 38 years.
There was always this, idea in the back of the head. Maybe, just maybe, she changed her name, moved away, just wanted a different life.
Yeah, Joni, the water in Florida is brutal. It is so freaking brutal. And that's another thing too. Like, a lot of people can't go searching in that water because it's full of alligators and stuff. So, I think Splash would enjoy like not having to deal with a whole bunch of predators in the water and stuff like that. Cause it is like, and I'm an excellent swimmer. Like, I love swimming, but love the water. But in Florida, I'm super cautious because they think everything is a fish. Like, these big sharks they just like will eat your arm off and be like, oh nope, sorry, so yeah, it's brutal here. But hey, Barb, good to see you. So yeah, that's what's great. I just set my chair in it, Jen. Like, people totally know I'm not from the area. Like, when they see me, they're like, oh my gosh, that's, they probably think I'm a hillbilly, but they're like looking at me in the water like, what? Because I'll just put my chair in there enough for it to like, be like my feet, covered. But I rarely swim out because I'm like, I don't want to be eaten. Florida's really bad too. Like, it's on the news all the time. There was a freaking alligator at Fort Myers Beach. Like, right there on the surf where I think I'm safe. It's crazy. There's so much wildlife here.
Maybe one day we'll hear from them.
Finding the missing in murky Florida waters is a challenge.
The saying is that the investigation ends at the water's edge.
After decades of training tracking dogs at Peace River Search and Rescue.
Our dogs are trained to work off anything from paddle boards to kayaks to boats.
Mike Hatzel is taking a novel, some might say absurd approach to finding the missing.
And I thought, why can't we train an otter to do this kind of, if they'll work with us? If the otter will work with the human.
Meet Splash, the world's first search otter.
Splash is trained to locate and identify the odor of human remains. So his job is to find the human victim underwater in the low visibility conditions that we can't see them. Humans emit somewhere over 500 volatile organic compounds, and it's unique to humans.
As part of his training, the scent of human remains is placed behind a light in this pool.
You'll see all these bubbles start coming out because I hid the scent object behind the pool rim and he was finding it. And you'll see all these bubbles coming out and he's sucking some of those bubbles back in and he's tasting them. The odor attaches itself to the bubble and then he tastes it when it comes into his mouth. And so
Isn't that wild? Like he knew exactly where it was, even though he couldn't see it, right? He could just smell it because he was tasting the bubbles. So just amazing, amazing.
So that's how he does it. When he finds something, he comes back and he grabs my mask.
Last year, an Arizona zoo owner heard about Mike's wild idea and donated Splash.
He is an Asian small-clawed otter.
Splash has gotten big, in part because success in the pool.
Yes. Good boy.
Is rewarded with a steady supply of salmon. Diving in these waters is dangerous, especially for an otter tethered to a line.
Yes, the danger we worry about Splash here is the alligators. For both of us, it's dangerous. I have bumped into alligators.
And when he's not in the water, Splash is sometimes in Dutch the dog's water bowl. Or
Aw, he likes to mess with the animals. It's so cute. They can, I did see that on another video. They actually do bond with like cats and dogs, and they're just really friendly. They're so cute, but they do bite. Disclaimer, but they're so cute. And also, they just mentioned a tether, and I didn't catch that on the first couple goes around, so I apologize. But yeah, so he's tethered to his owner. So I wonder if that would make a difference about what Funtuski was asking about earlier, because that was a really interesting and relevant thought, to be like, if he's in these pipes, right, even in the 30th basin or wherever, how do we know? How can he come back? Will he know the route? And if he's tethered to his owner, that could be a way of him keeping, a tether on a leash. He's basically on a long leash. And maybe that's one way they can keep track of him. So, Crocs are worse than gators. Yeah, they're all bad. I don't even know the difference. All I know is it's a huge prehistoric lizard that wants to eat my foot off or something, because he was close where I would be sitting, Hello. Oh, thank you, little Miss Sharon. I know. Oh my gosh, I've been so busy too. No worries. Don't you worry.
all up in the cat's business.
And now he likes to wrestle.
At the end of each day, Splash has a place in the family bed.
He sleeps with us. He likes to curl up either down by my feet or up by my head on the pillow. They're first cousin to a wolverine, and they have all the teeth. Oh, well, I'm 66 and I'm on blood thinners. When I get bit, I bleed. Let's go, Hoffa.
While Splash is a member of the family, his day job is to provide answers to families of the missing. Mike says Splash is turning skeptics into believers.
I got a list now of search requests for people wanting to use Splash all over the United States. He's very popular with FBI and FDLE now, so he's, he's he's working his way up the food chain.
We just caught Marie Sherman, dude. We got her.
The novelty of training an otter to solve a tragedy isn't lost on James Sherman.
They're using sonar to find vehicles, and they're using magnets to attach to that vehicle. What about the bodies that aren't in a vehicle? Those groups aren't going to find them. They don't have the technology. So having the otter who can go down there and smell it, that's a whole new door opened up.
As Splash hunts, he helps find the clues that elude investigators, one bubble, one breath at a time.
Successful. I expect to see a lot of otters out there. I think they'll be like standard issue probably in 10 years from now.
Doing important.
Ah, that's what he said. That's when he said it right there. He said there'll probably be standard issue. Here's your otter. How cool would that be? That would be like a big incentive for me. Oh, good night, Jen. Aw, I know he's so cute. She says, gosh, he's cute. Better not bite me. I'll smack them whiskers. Nope, we can snuggle though. Aw, gotta be up super early. Love y'all. Good night. Good night, Jen. Thank you for being here supporting Our Lady. You're so sweet, Jen. And thank you. And thank you for letting me know about, the updates and, our Jilly. She's, just doing the most. You guys, the viewers and everybody that puts their heads, outside the box, the creators and stuff, we're over here trying to find ways to, engage you guys and be impactful and tell you guys a story and get your feedback and all that. But you guys thinking outside the box and everything, it's just amazing. It's amazing to know that you guys care so much. And we're going to find Sebastian. We're going to find him. And this is one other way we can clear an area and then look somewhere else.
Work there. When Splash isn't in the water or at home, you might spot him at Publix or Home Depot. He's a customer favorite and wears a harness when he's out in public.
When it comes to search and rescue missions, we're used to seeing dogs and helicopters. Well, the Peace River Canine Search and Rescue Team has added a new and kind of unexpected member. Gulf Coast News reporter Sarah Mankiewicz went to Northport to see for herself.
Well, this is Splash. He might look like your regular otter, but he's actually search and rescue certified, ready to jump in the water and find anyone whenever he's needed.
Where's Hoffa? Splash, where's Hoffa? Yes, good boy. Thank you. Good boy.
He tells him to find Hoffa. Where's Hoffa? That's so hilarious to me. That's how he can tell the difference. Bo, thank you. I'm glad that you're sharing this with me because I have no idea. I would just run either way. Like if I see a huge lizard. Like I love the little lizards. They're so cute though. They're so adorable. And thank you, Army Vet, for being here. I appreciate you listening on your break. Wow, that's so sweet. Thank you.
Oh, good Hoffa, good boy.
At just 2 years old, the Asian small-clawed otter already has his paws on over 30 missions, with 8 recoveries so far.
He's very competitive. He likes to compete against the dogs.
The man behind the otter is Michael Hadsell with the Peace River Canine Search and Rescue Team.
I'm his human. He knows that. He comes to me because he knows I'm going to feed and take care of him. And he has that bond with me.
Splash isn't just cute, he's crucial for finding missing people.
The only critter that is mobile, that we can transport and use in different locations, it kind of trains up like the other animals do, like the dogs and the horses, is the otter.
The key is having an animal able to go from the boat to the bottom.
And the dog can alert from the boat, but they can't find it on the bottom. And when you get into cold case work, you know, the bones and the evidence is all sunk down in the muck.
And that muck is murky.
All right, guys. And this is where I think it also triggers a response for me when I hear him say, hey, he's used to training when he's looking for bones and things in the mud and the muck, right? So he's very versed in looking in these areas that we're wishing and hoping that he will be looking into, right? It's very important to recognize what he can do that's so different from what everybody else can do.
But Splash uses his sense of smell to find exactly what he's looking for.
That whisker array on the front of his is like a sonar system. And he's using what we call resonance frequency to find it. He knows what the resonant vibration frequency is for a human bone, and he's honed in on that.
Once he's found what he's after, Splash uses bubbles to let Hadsell know.
He actually tastes the odor. He doesn't smell it, particularly with the nose.
Otters have worked on cold cases before, but Splash is the first to work on recent recoveries.
He's doing more recent drownings and stuff, as well as the cold case stuff.
At the end of the day, Splash isn't just a worker. He's part of the family.
He comes in, he sleeps with me at night, comes in around 9 o'clock, and then he sleeps, gets up at 5 when I get up, and then out back, and it all starts over again.
Reporting.
He's so sweet. He goes to sleep with him. He knows what time, and he'll come in and he'll go to sleep, and they'll get their 8 hours, and then he's off again. It's so cute. It's so cute. Just love him. Aw, you too, Seth. I'm always thinking of you, Seth. Always thinking of you. Good night, Mama's World. And I think that's amazing. Mama's World. I have a balloon release with some missing business cards tied. I'll pay for them. Love everyone much. Always praying for Sebastian and Seth. Good night. If you decide to email, Lady has my email. Yeah, absolutely. I'll get together with you on that, Mama's World. Can you just send me an email that just says Mama's World on it? Because I think I do have it. I just want to make sure. But I think that's a beautiful idea. That's an awesome idea. And then also Brenda Calvert. Thank you, Brenda Calvert, for that, for emailing Sebastian's flyers to the boys' home in Maryland. Look, I got to be honest. I do not think that Chris Proudfoot is in Maryland not working, doing Katie's job while Katie's doing God only knows what else, because we're not seeing Katie. I can't get on board with it, but it's all right. And I think it's a good thing. We need to try to figure out how we can get these emails for these schools, because I do think that it's important for us to not abandon that idea or theory either. We just don't know. I think we need to continue on with all of it, but we need to put some public pressure on to get Splash, right? Let's get Splash in those systems. Please, 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 please. And again, just knowing that they worked with Mike, Splash's owner, and he's dedicated to finding Sebastian. Guys, that should be something that everybody is praising. We can talk and we can be upset about certain things, and it doesn't matter, we also need to praise when there's good being done. We also need to talk about that when there's good being done. So, I mean, this is huge. So, yeah, laying here, and I have to say, resonant vibration frequency. Wow, he senses that. Yeah, exactly, Jen. I mean, it is like out of this world that someone has understood that these otters can do all of this. It's like amazing. It's amazing. It's going to help so many other people. Because what if Splash doesn't find Sebastian, but he finds someone else? What if we can clear that area and look for Sebastian somewhere else? Right? We can check that off of our box. Okay, great. Not there. But it would be amazing if he could find someone else, or if we can try this technology. Look, Splash is new, and maybe he's never gone into a water system like this before. And maybe this will help detect other people in the same situation, right? Where they did fall into the manhole and they did end up, hurting themselves and being taken down into one of these reservoirs, into the basins, right? So it's so important. It's so important, and we love you, Seth. Good night, hun. Just lie down with that cold rag. I think my PTSD, thank you for mentioning that. Thank you guys for being so kind and sweet in chat. You guys are amazing people. Me too, Joni, and it's so awesome. It's just so awesome. We all need to be looking, and here's the thing too. I want to remind you guys of Dylan Redwine. He was found in these massive mountains in Colorado. God only knows, I've never been there, right? But it was because a big group of people got together and said, I don't give a shit if I like you or not. Let's search for this kid, right? They weren't worried about it. They were searching for him. They just wanted to find him. And guess what they found? They found some of his bones. And then later on, some other hikers, I believe it was, or maybe they were on the trails and whatnot, and they found his skull. It takes everyone to get together and do it. Everyone. We have to get out there and do this. We have to search. We have to help law enforcement. And I felt for a very long time that they were like leaving us hanging. I'm like, we're out there searching and they didn't even send anybody to help us. But it doesn't matter. We need to take the initiative, and if we think there's a spot, then we need to look for that. Good night, Chuchi. We need to look for that. So yeah, it's such a blessing for the missing, Jen. It really is. And look, he's helping people that were, had drowned, and they were able to be found quicker. They didn't have to turn into a cold case. It didn't have to go that far. He finds them right away, because 500 different scents to be identified, those are some pretty freaking good odds. I would say, that are just unique to humans. Yeah, that he can detect bones with sonar. That's flipping amazing. Good night, Miss Anne. And if you're just in here, just feel free to chat whenever you want, hun. So yeah, the gummies do help, right? Yeah. they help tremendously with a lot of different things. So I know. So Joni, we have determined, right, through reaching out and asking for this help, that the TBI has already enlisted the help of this organization, right? Um, that Mike is a part of the search and rescue. And so they've been working with them. We just don't know, and we're assuming that Splash was not utilized to search in these particular basins, and so we're asking that they do. But we'd also, need the FBI and TBI, who's already involved with. I mean, and Sumner County is involved, right? Because Sumner County, okay, we have to understand also holds jurisdiction. They hold Sebastian's case in their hands, guys. So the more good news that we can hear about them, the better. And this is fantastic news that they've been working and working with this guy. And hopefully they didn't think about checking these systems. Now I think they put cameras down through there, and we have talked about that also. You know, so yes, it is amazing, Joni. So, I don't see why they wouldn't check these systems. It would be amazing if they did. So, hey, Justice Renewed. We're talking about the otter, Splash the otter. He is the first rescue otter located here in Florida. Martin County Sheriff's Office uses this little guy. And we were just made aware yesterday that the TBI has been working with Mike Hadsell, his handler. And so we're hoping to get Splash into the basins, and I'm going to show you guys the basins. Let me go ahead and just play this really quick through, because I think we just have a couple seconds left.
In Northport,
Good Hoffa. Good boy.
Sarah Mankiewicz, Gulf Coast News.
All right, guys, that's Splash the Otter. And if you just go back a little bit, you could probably catch it, what he does and everything. But he is trained to detect human remains and things of that nature. Let me grab Jen's live. And I want to show you guys these basins, because this is interesting. Let's see. Here we go. We got 1 day ago. Okay. Oh, no. Okay, no, sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay, let me go back one more, because that was the live that I was in yesterday, but I want to show you guys the basins. Here we go. Okay, hold on, because Jen has generously timestamped these for us. All right, so 201.35, right? 201.35. Okay, take a gander here. All right, here we go.
The challenges of finding missing persons, going through those pipes and basins. Got to check the basins, not just the pipe, the basins.
I emailed you a picture of basins and what it looks like.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll look at it. Hold on. Jeff said he emailed me so I can show it on here. Okay. Okay.
And a big shout out to Jeff, because this is how I was able to understand it, because I was like, duh, and I didn't understand what was going on with these, pipes and this basins, and I was understanding, that they're part of the system and how it works, but until I saw, how it really works, I didn't understand it. And thank you, Witchy Mama. Thank you guys for dropping the link, little Miss Sharon. Yes, because we love our friend Jen. She's amazing, she's amazing, Cinderella. Excuse me. She's amazing. Jen does a great job digging in, right? And just like she says she's not good at organizing, but she does organize these searches and things that we have done, because we're looking at her hot spots, right? She's sending us to legitimate places, right, where there's activity. Jen has a gift, you guys, and I can't explain it, but that's what happens when you have a gift like that. It's hard to explain. It just is what it is. And this, in my opinion, is very interesting, in terms of really understanding what these basins look like.
Look at. And
okay, so here we go. So this is going to be a really great depiction here, right? Because we have the curb, which this is the street, right? And this is the curb, and this is the street here. In between is this grate, right? But before there was the grate was a big gaping hole because that area was under construction. Hello, Scranton Strangler. So that area was under construction at that time. So there was big gaping holes, and it wasn't this little grate that we're seeing on them today, right? Because Jen took me to the neighborhood. She told me about this. I asked Jen. Well, Jen asked me, sorry, let me back up. Jen asked me when I come for Pigfest, what would I like to look at when it comes to Sebastian's case? Where do I want to go? And I said, I thought about going to BJ's, and I thought about going, but these are all places that we know Sebastian survived, right? Where we know is that Sebastian didn't survive after he either made it home from the Texas Roadhouse or didn't, right? We don't know what happened to him after that, right? We don't know. So, yeah, I can go to BJ's, but what am I going to present to you guys? What am I going to find there that's going to be relevant, that's going to be worth talking about, where we might find a clue? It's not going to be there. So I said, where do you want to take me, Jen? Where do you think I should be looking, right? Because she knows the area. She is a Tennessean, right? Jen has lived there for a long time in the Nashville area. So I thought, you tell me where we should go. And we went to a few places. Obviously, the construction area next to Sebastian's home is an important place, but the problem is that at the time I went there, it was already, a year and a half into Sebastian's disappearance, October of 2025, right? And so I am like way behind, right? Because I can only really rely on people who were in the construction area. Like, I know JLR was one of them that had driven around that area. So she's telling me about these big gaping holes, and we're talking about it. But this is a great depiction here of what it would look like afterwards. But before, there was some big culverts that were open. It didn't look like this, all clean and, working. But here's what it looks like. And there's also reservoirs and things like that in terms of the retention ponds. The retention ponds. Hello, Faye. Good morning. So, yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so, Justice for Noog. And like I said earlier, the thing is like, I mean, Katie's going to be doing Katie's job, not the other. They wouldn't have any money if nobody's working. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't mean to just put it like that because, that's not everything. But I'm just going to say that it's not jiving for me. Right. And, we did talk about that a little bit, that I don't think it's Chris and stuff like that. So SF was real interested in the construction area before all the houses went up. Yeah, he was. Oh, yes, Scranton. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, ma'am. He was. He talked a lot about the construction area and how he found it to be like a point of interest. Yeah, absolutely. Real interested in that construction area before all the houses went up. I mean, honestly, I would have to be as well. Uh, because of those big holes and because what we're seeing and how this water system works. Um, yeah, even if somebody wanted to do something nefarious, they could do something like that also. I'm not negating, look, it's no secret. I do think Chris and Katie had something to do with this. I do. I do. But if I'm going to put that aside for a second and say what would be a logical thing to have happened to Sebastian, this would be very logical to me. You know, because of the way it was, the holes were and everything. Yeah, they've signed an NDA with the TBI Funtuski. Yes, they have. Splash and his handler have signed an NDA with the TBI. Make sense. Why would the TBI not search the basins, in my opinion? Well, and they could have. This is the thing. We don't know if they have or they haven't. But I think the reason why they wouldn't is because they didn't have that technology. Now, they were putting cameras down in there. And, even Ken Weiner talked about consulting with cave experts, right? To get down in the, they call them splunkers, right? Or splunkers. And I know this because I've been in caves and because I've lived in Missouri for so long. And there's tons of freaking caves in Missouri. And so I know there's these massive cave systems and things underneath. But I don't think that they had the technology to put the camera down in this muck area, debris area, and search. If anything would be clogged in there or left behind, it would be in these reservoirs or these basins. So, yeah. Justice for Noog, in my opinion, they haven't moved unless, something we don't. Yeah, I don't think so because where's Katie? And also, no glasses. I mean, I don't know. Chris doesn't wear glasses. I'm not saying that you couldn't wear a pair of glasses and, kind of change your appearance, right? It's not hard to do that. It's easy. You could buy a pair of glasses online, that aren't prescription, that no one would know weren't prescription, that sort of thing. But yeah, I know. I think they're looking for Sebastian, and waiting to find him until they do anything in terms of arrests. They told us that at least. Oh, I'm not as familiar with the Hooker case. Whoops, the Brian Hooker versus the wife. I know who you're talking about. Sorry, I shouldn't have said it like that. That came out wrong. Everything is on the table. Yeah, don't count anything out. Yeah, that and I'm like that too, Funtuski. I mean, I can't tell you guys absolutely anything because look, I'd be lying to you. I'd be like, if I told you I know for 100%, I would be lying to you, and I'm not prepared to do that. And also, I don't know. And if I did know, I'd tell you guys. But I would show you guys a receipt. I would show you receipts, and that way you could see it for yourself, make up your own mind. So, yeah, he's the one that put out the dispatch. Yeah. Hello, all that is unseen. Not every construction licensee is easily portable without testing in other states. Hello, everyone. Hey. And that's the thing. I mean, I would imagine that they would go ahead and utilize him if they had some indication that Sebastian would have made it into here. But I do think that there is it's some place to check out, So, thank you, Bo. I don't understand why they couldn't have took them cameras and got into the Google account on it like they did the other, like Nancy Grace's. I wonder that too. I think they have all of the information. I do. I really do. Um, Caves and bridges would be another place to check. Yeah, I agree, Faye. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. So I'm just going to play this through a little bit with Jen explaining this.
This is the function of storm drains and how it works. So look, so you have the inlet pipe and it drops into a basin. There is all the debris. Here is the basin. The pipe would come, and then here would be the outflow. So there's the grate that we see. But then, that was open. It was completely open. So if Sebastian would have went in that manhole, the big storm drain, then he has to go about a half a mile going through these big pipes and then possibly dropping into a basin. Storm drains and catch basins. I want you to see how it works. So that's as deep. So we could go and we could have cameras going through here, but is the camera going to go down here? Are we going to go to each basin and look down here? Is that what they did? See what I'm saying? There's all the sediment. Here's the culvert. Great. Inlet and outlet pipes.
Detroit, I agree. That guy could be my son. Lots of guys with beards and glasses that look similar. Yeah, and the hat. Yeah. In my opinion, I need better pics and not blurry Bigfoot sightings. Yeah, I'm with you. And that's funny. And then we were teasing because somebody says, kind of looks like Josh from the lab. And I was like, oh my gosh, I died. I'm like, that's too funny. I'm like, that's so cute. Cause I mean, the guy does look like many guys with a beard, right? And um it's tough to tell. Even the one looked kind of photoshopped, but then I realized it wasn't. It was just the way the picture was against like the white van. So yeah, how would he have gotten there? Well, they're saying about the van, I, for the best of my understanding, they're saying that there was a change of ownership on the van, but again, you could have sold it to a dude that just looks like has a beard and glasses, right? And rocks a Chris Proudfoot hat. I mean, because there's a lot of guys out there that have that look, right? And I also think that a lot of it, why I would have to say no, would be because Katie's not anywhere in the photos, and he is a crane operator, and he's not just going to assume Katie's identity and start doing her job. And then everybody talks about how they have all this money. How are they paying their mortgage? How are they paying their homeowner's insurance if they are out there like that? um Chris working in Katie's van, and then Katie doing what? We have to be logically thinking about a theory. And I talk about this a lot, where we need to play it all the way through. Sure, people can send sightings into us YouTubers. They do it all the time. And a lot of things I don't show you guys, right? Because it's, in my opinion, it's not relevant, right? But I mean, a lot of people have sent me a lot of things, so especially since I've gone live. It wasn't like that until I started going live, that people would send me all kinds of stuff, and I always appreciate everything people send over. But I also have to fact check a lot of information, because if I just put it out, then I mean, look, I'm no Upchurch, right? Not Upchurch by any means. But he's been slapped with a $17.5 million lawsuit, right? Because he's got that kind of money, and he said some things that maybe, he shouldn't have. And so you just really have to be careful. And I know I joke around a lot, like sue me for what, but you just do. You have to be careful. You have to say allegedly, in my opinion. You can't just say, oh, this is that person, and have no proof of it whatsoever. A picture, eh, you know, we just have to be careful. Also, I don't really see the reason that it would be relevant that Chris would be in Maryland. Like, what are we trying to show, or what is the end result? You know. So I don't know though, Scranton. I see what you're saying. Could be they could be living off of mama socks. I just don't see that happening. Especially when we hear the story about her talking about the bling, I say the bling bling, but especially when we hear her talking like, Chris is going to buy me this for my birthday. She seems like she likes to be catered to. And again, I think the more logical scenario would be that they probably sold the van, and Katie might be accompanying, her husband on his work trips. But I don't know that for sure. I mean, that's just my best guess based on, what we know. So, yeah, he could have fallen, and that Funtuski, that's the thing. Um, I agree. The grates were both placed. The grates weren't placed on there when Sebastian went missing. That happened after the fact. Yeah, and it was dark, and he could have fallen in accidentally, trying hard to escape from the house, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, he absolutely could have. And, we never know, because we don't have all of the information from the beginning, and we're basically going off of what Chris has said, what Katie has said, and what Seth has said. We don't really know, right? Like, I know for a fact that Seth didn't have anything to do with it, but it also makes me wonder because, again, Katie was supposedly the last one with Sebastian, right? All of the windows and the doors were locked. So it's not like she woke up and his window was like unlocked. It doesn't even have to be open, just unlocked would have indicated that he could have left the house. Did he know the code to the door? Sure. And he was right next to the door. His bedroom is right next to the front door. Katie's bedroom is on the back side of the house. So if Sebastian left out the front door, right? Let's just hypothetically say he left out the front door. He would have closed the lock behind him, and there wouldn't have been evidence of that, particularly because there would have been fingerprints all over of Sebastian's and anybody else that uses the code to get in. Usually, Katie seems to park her car or her Infiniti in the garage, right? And then she uses the clicker, I would imagine, when she backs her vehicle up, her work van, and she uses the clicker to get into the garage. That would make the most sense. Why would she walk all the way to the front door, type the code in to get in the house? No, when she comes home from work, she probably backs into the driveway. Beep, beep, beep. Those vans have that on there, right? And then she puts it in park and she locks up her car, or her van, excuse me, and then she goes in using the clicker for the garage to let it up, and then closes it when she enters the house. There's usually a button right by the door when you have that set up. So logically speaking, that's probably what she would do. I don't know what she would do because I don't know Katie. She's not my friend. I've never been at her house when she come home from work. So you fell in a manhole when you were in junior high, Scranton? Oh my goodness. All the way in? Oh my gosh. That had to have been terrifying. Oh my gosh. I don't know about the map. Okay, so Faye says, can Jen do a map of the day CP left for 17 hours to see where did he go? That could be interesting. I don't know if that's how it works for her. I think that 17 hours is very interesting still to me, Faye. And I'm glad you brought it up because I mean it's a reminder that there was a time when he left. Now in the camper also is another thing because I know people were saying it was switched out. Um Yeah, I don't so I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I don't think that Stephen Crabtree is living there because obviously his truck wasn't there whenever me or KJ went past. I think he might have been visiting in the morning of Pigfest, or it wasn't even the morning of Pigfest. Like the Friday night that we were there, we ate, or no, I'm sorry, it was Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. So, we ate the dinner and everything like that, and I took the pictures, I put them up online. Um, but after that, um, was when we were driving past and we'd want to stop 30 to the Texas Roadhouse, all of that. And that was Saturday, I believe, Saturday morning. Um, but I don't believe that, no, I don't believe that he's living there. Mm-mm. No. So she's the tree willy-nilly with her money, and she seems very shallow and greedy. Yeah, I think so too. I don't think she's free with her money either. That's a big misconception, Detroit. I'm glad you brought that up too, because look, like most rich people are rich for a reason. Like they don't just give their money out. They have money because some of them are very cheap. That's terrible that I'm saying that. But I'm just, not always. Of course, that's where people are philanthropists and all that. But mm-mm. No, I don't think she's footing the bill for Chris. No. No. Mama Socks likes her money and she likes to be able to do what she wants with her money. In my opinion, without knowing her. So he would have had shoes in a scent. That's true, Joni. That is very true. And that is a big one. I don't think he would have made it far without shoes is my big thing. And that's why I play Craddock every single night talking about, well, his mom said all the shoes were accounted for at the house. So I'm not going to say he's barefoot, is his exact quote. I play it every single night because even at that point, he wasn't believing what was happening, right? There was something in him that was saying, not so fast. Wait a minute. I'm not going to say he's barefoot, right? But that's what his mom is saying. His mom is saying that all the shoes were accounted for at the house. And the cameras didn't catch anyone. And Scranton, we know that house from across the street has a Ring doorbell camera that faces directly across the street at their neighbor, right? Not because of any reason other than that's where it shows. And we know that the neighbor told Sweetie Pilo that she can see when Sebastian would come home and he would use the code to get into the house and, let himself in after he got off the school bus. And she saw activity on Saturday. She saw the activity on Sunday. So I'm with you. Now, Katie and Chris, for some reason, had their house blacked out that night. But the night that I went by, it was also dark. I mean, it's not like their porch light was on, and they have a great big porch light. It's real pretty. It hangs down. And, it wasn't on. So. Oh my gosh. Fontuski says, Scranton, I fell into a catch basin in the lab. The guys didn't put up cones around it. Talk about being shocked, and I had already had on a cast for breaking my wrist. Oh my gosh, and my thumb. Oh my goodness, Fontuski. Oh my gosh, guys. I bet you it was painful. Oh my gosh. We know for a fact from police that Sebastian didn't leave the house. No scent of Sebastian outside the house, in my opinion. That's true, Faye. That is very true. That is very true. And especially if somebody went barefoot, there would be a heavier scent and there would also be prints, right? Actual footprints. Because shoe print is different than a footprint, right? She would probably blackmail them if they said anything. She's a control freak like her son, in my opinion. Yeah, I hear you, Detroit. In New York City, a 56-year-old woman fell in a manhole. It was 10 feet deep. They were able to recover her yesterday. Really, Witchy? Oh, I did not hear about that. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my gosh, Scranton. Oh, no, I scraped my entire front of my body on my way into the hole. I was with two friends that helped me get out. I'll never forget it. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, that is traumatic. Well, yeah, because all of a sudden you're in, oh my gosh. I know they had a GoFundMe set up for him and stuff like that, you know. Aw, I know Funtuski, my goodness, you guys. Joni, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. Being in that area, I had boots. All right, I had tall boots that were big old honking boots that I was wearing. And let me tell you, I had the bramble bushes or whatever the hell they call them, the pickers. I call them pickers. And I mean, I was all bloodied up by them, right? They caught me. And then I also had a rip in my pants, just from being in the elements and stuff like that. There's no way I'd be able to be barefoot in the woods. No way. And Joni said, I visited my daughter in Cumberland County. I seen those woods. No way would anyone go barefoot in Tennessee. No, not unless you were running away and you had no choice, but you wouldn't make it far. You'd be hurting for certain. Faye, along with being a subcontractor for Verizon and not pay workers, is no go, in my opinion. Yeah. Yeah. Really? Oh my gosh. I'll have to look at that, Witchy. The neighbor's camera caught only two subjects coming out and back in at 3 a.m. Yep. Exactly. After 6, no one else. And see, I can't discount that either. Again, it's just something that's also on the table. And they were definitely using crime scene preservation tactics, and they were pointing that camera toward the common area where this activity allegedly occurred. I can't discount that ever until somebody shows me different, you know? So that's a good idea. Funtuski, that's so funny. I was totally wearing leggings, like not chaps. I wouldn't even know where to get a pair of those, but I did look funny. And I had like my machete and I couldn't even use it. I was yeah, really funny. But I've never been searching in the woods for anybody before. So I had no idea. I was just glad that I was able to identify some deer bones, so I knew at least I would be able to identify bones. Because again, it's so thick. And then right there by the water, it's very treacherous and a lot of debris that is just collected, in the area. So, but yeah, that's hilarious. I could see myself in some chaps. Oh gosh. All right, here we go.
So when I'm talking about a catch basin, how many would you think, Jeff? How many would you think that are between that Willow Bend and Long Hollow where we looked? How many basins would you think that there are that they would have to search without any obstruction of the camera? See, this would be the floatables, and then everything would drop to the bottom, and that would create a debris. So there's got to be a bunch of debris that is not allowing that new construction area water to flow into the creek properly. Do you understand what I'm saying? Thank you, Elaine, for the gift. She sent us some girl power. Thank you, sweetheart. You think that they would be 30 or more. So Jeff is thinking, there'd be 30 or more. So how likely do you guys think that these basins were able to be captured after all that heavy rain? We need another search. We need the FBI, we need the TBI, we need the FBI to facilitate another search and clear this area, clear the basins. Agree? No, it would definitely be so
I agree. Especially when we look at this picture again, guys. This is the grate that we're used to seeing, that covers up the hole. The holes were open, right? Here's the sewer connection, the piping, and then there's floatables and the debris that collects, and the water flows through, right? So at these points is where I think they could also open the grate and identify how far the otter has gone, right? And they could open up this manhole and see the otter. Okay, nothing, right? So you guys are so hilarious. I'm gonna go into the Harley store. Oh my gosh, that's too cute. Yeah, but I see what you guys are saying, if you're out there, because it's rough. It's so rough. Thank you, Funtuski. Thank you guys. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of crap in there, I go barefoot everywhere, Scranton, but that's because I'm in Florida. So I mean, I wear flip-flops, but I mean, you can't really go barefoot when it's real hot because the concrete gets hot, and you got to worry about the dogs and stuff too. But yeah, I'm a hillbilly. I just walk around barefoot. But at some point I have to put the flip-flops on because if I'm walking, anywhere around, especially like in the park and stuff like that. So yeah, Bo, and that was a big one for me too, because I was really looking for places in between of Chris's route. If he did say Chris went, from his job site, campgrounds, right, to back to home, and say he collected Sebastian or what have you, and then, it would be logical to think that there's some areas on the way back that he would have done something. So I'm right there with you. I see what you're saying, so yeah, they help, right, Funtuski? Yeah, I always get a creepy vibe from Terry Bauer socks. Me too, Justice for Noog, but I mean, he didn't do anything to me. He wasn't like following me or doing anything like that. I think he kind of realized that that's not going to help the situation, because he was caught, with doing it with Bullhorn Betty, obviously JLR, but they had like their standoff in the street. Aw, how cute. Aw, has my service dog has boots for the winter and Crocs for the summer. Yeah. Yeah. I know Jewel says she puts the boots on her dogs too. Hey Michelle, good to see you. And he supposedly stopped to help someone change their tire on that 17-hour trip to get his RV. That's right. I do remember him mentioning that, Bo. That's a good point. Thanks for bringing that up. And, here's the thing, there's so much hearsay, and that's what's tough about this situation as well. It really is. It really is. Okay, guys, I'm gonna play this through a little bit more, and then I'm gonna play Kiki's live where Jen came up on panel.
It would be I would say that it would be the city. Let's look at that. Let's look at that. Who is responsible for storm drain maintenance. Local government, private property owners. Nope. No, it would be the private properties. The local government, the public works, maybe, private drains, HOA. Let's look at that. In communities governed by a homeowners association, the HOA typically maintains the storm drains located on private roads or common grounds. HOA. Who to contact? Oh, that's not us. TDOT, Tennessee Department of Transportation, TDOT, Stormwater Management Program. But we would want the FBI. I mean, we'd want the FBI because the FBI is the one that has to facilitate this type of search. We have to get the FBI on board with this. It has to. The only other, like I said, the good thing.
And guys, this was before we realized that the TBI has already been working with Splash's owner. So I just want to put that out there too.
Yeah, but the HOA can't go and investigate. The FBI has got to do this. Slam dunk. The FBI has to.
After an accident, it can be devastating and you don't know where to turn. But if violence...
Because it stopped up. We can see that. There's evidence. I mean, I showed you guys. It stopped up. There's no water that's coming out. And there should have been water coming out. Either way, the FBI would have to facilitate the investigation to search for Sebastian there. They would have to be the ones, not the HOA. The HOA isn't going to go investigate. They would need the FBI, right? The TBI, the FBI. 287 County Road. Let me see. Hold on. Myrtle. Okay.
All right, guys. So let me go ahead and change over to Kiki. And if you haven't subbed up to Kiki, please do. Okay, here we go.
Hello.
Hold on a second. Let me go to my
pause
camera.
you, Dan. It's turning. Okay, got your pause. Let me make sure you are on screen. My gosh, dude. Like my screen is going blank, guys. Hang on. There we go. Okay. Oh, thank you all. Thank you so much. I love y'all. Okay. Jen is talking about, okay, I'm going to try to do this the correct way. And if I'm wrong, correct me in the chat, Jen. Or, yeah, bird named Daryl. Does he have another brother named Daryl? No, he has a brother named Tweety. So anyway, so guys, correct me, lady, or Jen, if I'm wrong, but the drainage, and this is graphic, okay, because we don't want to find anything this way, by no means. But imagine you're right there in the subdivision, okay, and I'll pull up a map here in a minute, but you're right there in the subdivision. And what I understand, the construction, I'm not TJ, the construction site is up on the hill. So the rain and the water drain off would come down the hill into culverts, I think, right? Lady Freedom is what they call them, or basins. And then it would run into that retention pond that they searched, right? Yes, TJ, me and you. Those pics Jeff shared with Jen made it all click for me. Got you. I should have pulled those up. So it would have went down into the retention pond. Okay, they say was a hit. There was a nothing burger. Okay, so we don't know what's true at this point, honestly. We're just speculating, right? But you go down through there and then it goes under the road, from my understanding. And right there at the fire hall, right behind there is where Jen and them are saying that the culvert is stopped up. Another thing, okay? Let me show you this. And I'm going to show you, y'all are going to think I'm a weirdo, but yes, Jen, lady, I did screenshot, we screenshot. But I wanted to show you, Miss Liberty said something last night that we have never heard, a lot of us. Okay? And I hope it's big enough for me to read. I can't. Okay, let's see. So while lady was playing Jen, okay, you're seeing double Jens right now. Liberty was saying that a lot of the locals, okay, and y'all got to follow me. If you don't understand, then let me know. But a lot of the locals, 2 weeks prior to Sebastian missing, okay, 2 weeks, there was an odor coming from that culvert. They said they called it in to the FBI, TBI, or law enforcement. Okay? Oh my gosh. Yet, if 3 sign up to be subscribers, I will hit 1,000. Come on, guys. We got to do that drawing, right? Y'all want something from that drawing. Anyways, so, okay. If they didn't call it in, but Liberty said this. Liberty said it was from her Ring app, okay? So I'm going to show you guys. I have Ring, and on the Ring app, this is what it looks like, okay? Your home place above this, like your city, is going to be above this, okay? Which I'm not showing you guys. No offense. But you see the neighbors button. You see that neighbors button. I don't know if you can see it. Okay. That, if you live within a certain radius of a home, okay? Say Sebastian lived 4 houses down from me or a mile away. It can pick up miles, okay? But you have to live near that vicinity. You get a notification on the neighbors app through Ring. Hit a 1 in chat if you understand what I'm talking about at this moment. So the neighbors were on this Ring app saying, do you guys, and this is alleged, this is Liberty telling me, okay, in the chat, thank you guys, that they were putting on this app, has anyone smelt the odor coming out of this culvert? And God, this makes me sick to my stomach and makes me want to cry. But we need to clear this and make sure, yeah, me and you, people complained of an odor in the area where Sebastian went missing. And Mayo Mama said that too by the cemetery. I remember that. Yes, lady. And it could be just animals that came down off the road, roadkill, whatever. Not being gross, trigger warning. Thank you for being here, Maui. But this is important. And with Mob saying, and this could be nothing because he said it was a rumor, right? It could be nothing. But he said that someone in law enforcement was there at 6 a.m. allegedly, from rumor. Okay, we're not saying facts because we don't know facts on this case. But isn't it awful funny that this culvert, normally, I would think, excuse me, my voice is going out, that the city would have to take over and clean this out. Jen and Lady and several people, I'm going to explain something else here in a minute, but they need help to get this area cleaned out. But I'm not sure what steps need to be done first. My thing was, if there are more locals that come up and say, hey, I have this on my Ring app, or hey, I wrote this on a Ring app, I remember this, right? Then I believe we should call FBI and, see if FBI needs to go down there, see if they can get someone to help come unstop the area. Because Jen right here and Lady have been talking about, I know you guys heard of scent and cadaver dogs, but there is a otter in Florida. Yes, if you smell the odor from this area, please come forward. Please email me. You can be anonymous. But I just want to know if others smelt the same, because this could be a big break in this case, in my opinion. Right? We don't want it to be a break, but we want to clear this area. But
Yeah, absolutely. And we need to clear the area. And, it just sucks because I know a lot of people don't want to come forward, but I think it's important that they do. If you smelled anything odd or anything was off at that time, you have that receipt to prove, hey, I wrote this that day on, March 1st or whatever. That there was this odd smell that I've never smelled before. Something like that is important and really needs to go to law enforcement. And just know, guys, that when you report things to law enforcement, they're not going to get back together with you. They're just not, unless they need a follow-up, unless they have more questions. The best example that I can give that I know personally is in Devlin Tate's case. I had a tip, I had sent it to them. They did not get back together with me, right? They spoke with me about it, but then they didn't follow up and say, hey, Trisha, thank you for the tip, and this is what we're doing. They're never going to do that, guys. They're never going to do it. They need our help in terms of us giving them the tips, but they're never going to, you're not going to get an honorary badge or anything, but that's not the reason that we're doing it. We're not doing it for notoriety. We're not doing it to get some sort of feedback. We're doing it because we think it will help, and we have to stay on that mindset and not get upset when we don't hear back, because even if we are not hearing back from them, that doesn't mean that they're not working the lead or that it didn't help in some capacity, right? And so we just always have to remember that, in my opinion. Faye says it pisses me off that they leave people to stay missing because of their ego, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I will say that I think it's a big development to know that they are accepting help from this Florida search and rescue group. I think that's huge, because up until this point, I didn't think that they were accepting help from other organizations, but it turns out that they are, because Mike Hadsel let us know that TBI has been working with him and that he is dedicated to finding Sebastian and that he signed an NDA with TBI. That was just confirmed yesterday, and that is breaking news. That is not clickbait. That is not, oh, I think allegedly, in my opinion, nothing like that. That's the real deal. That's the real deal. It's facts, not somebody making it up or, oh, somebody told me this, no. That's the facts.
there is an otter that goes into the waters. He's from Florida, and he is a cadaver otter. He smells underwater. Splash, first star otter ever. So we were thinking that that area needs cleaned out, and then, you know, we get the otter up here. And y'all go subscribe to Jen and Lady, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I should have played the video. But I'm going to explain, and this is wild, okay? Because me and Jen, I don't get a chance to go watch her. We never talk. But what was so weird, Jill, our friend who searched, reached out to his handler. Awesome. But here's the deal, guys. Me and Jen had not conversed. I hadn't conversed with Lady.
Yeah, Sammy. So I can absolutely clarify that the TBI has been working with this guy to find Sebastian Rogers. Period. TBI has enlisted his help to find Sebastian Rogers, and he wrote an email to Jen saying that he is dedicated to finding Sebastian Rogers and has signed an NDA, right, a non-disclosure agreement with the TBI to help find Sebastian Rogers. Like, they've been working with him. Prior to any of this, us asking, when we asked Mike Hadsell for help, and that's Hadsell, and that is Mike spelled phonetically, he told us that he is already working with the TBI and is dedicated to finding Sebastian Rogers. Breaking news. Truth. Not made up, not, oh, I think so, or I heard from someone that said this and that. No. Directly from Mike Hadsell, an email stating that he has been working with the TBI to find Sebastian Rogers.
About what Jen had said, where she was thinking, it was so odd. It was like a God thing, okay? Because I told Lady, I said, if that area stopped up, it needs to be cleared out. And then Jen was saying the same thing, and I didn't even know it, right? So let's play this, and I want y'all to watch this, and then I'm going to show you some more things. We're going to look at the map. Let's see if it'll play. There we go.
Let me go to my uploads. Just a second, guys. Because I do have...
Yeah, and you know, Witchy, that's how it works. And the thing is, too, is even, you know, when there was a FOIA done, my call was in there and they'd worked my call. You know, I wouldn't have known that unless I knew about that. But it's really about keeping the faith, right? Because we don't know what they're doing and they're not going to tell us. And it's been a freaking circus. It's just been a damn circus. And blame and this and that and all of it is like not helpful. And so they're not going to do anything to stir the pot, you know. And I've said it before too. I think the reason why they won't clear any of the parents is because they don't want to stir the pot. That would absolutely stir the pot. And in my opinion, Seth deserves to be cleared, right? Because he was at work, he's got the receipts, he was on camera, the whole 9 yards. But they're not going to do that because they know it's going to cause a big bunch of bull crap, right? And there's already enough bull crap. So I think that's why they're not. That's just my opinion. That's what I think, you know. Yeah, absolutely, Faye. And that's what's so hard. And even when Kiki was saying, you know, it makes me sick to my stomach, it does. I hate thinking about this option. This theory is not my favorite one. My favorite theory would be that Sebastian was somewhere well taken care of. You know, another little bit of breaking news, and I know we haven't talked about it, and there hasn't been as much exposure in little Jasper's case, but Jasper has been found and he was kidnapped by his maternal grandfather and his step grandmother, excuse me. In that case, I knew that he was going to be taken care of, and I knew that he was stolen from his biological mother by those two. They sold their house. They skipped country. He was found in Albania, right? Just a couple of days ago. We're going to do a video on that. I'm still gathering information, putting it together. But even when we think that we know the full story, we don't always know the full story. And I did in that case believe that Jasper was alive and well and healthy and happy, because they took the baby because they wanted that baby. You have to look at the motive. You have to look at means, motive, opportunity. Always logically in a case like this, or any case for that matter. So did it appear that Katie and Chris were going to put Sebastian in a place that he was going to be happy and healthy? No. We know that they were choosing a place that children had passed away, being forced to watch things that no child should be exposed to. Jumped. Some of the kids were jumped, and that was at the instruction of the adults, right? And all of that. So if we look at the facts of the case and we know that there was CPS involvement, and we know that there was Seth making preparations for Sebastian to come live with him, and then we know that there was another CPS report, but we don't know exactly what it was, because it's still open. I think that it's important to recognize that. And I think that those are the things that are gonna help us understand what happened more. But yeah, we don't know what happened after the Texas Roadhouse. We don't know. We don't know whether Sebastian made it home. We don't know whether he got out and the police know that he was somewhere in the neighborhood and they have that footage and no one else does. We don't know. Excuse me, we just don't know. Rosebud says, and I will say that knowing this help is being used, it gives me faith that they're still doing things behind the scenes in search for Sebastian. Let's remember the red wine case and all the work done. Yes, Rosebud, absolutely. The red wine case is so important in terms of looking at Sebastian's case. All of these cases are very important to re-examine and look at. And that's one that really sticks out to me too. And the thing is I'm not going to lie to you guys to fit a narrative that I think that you guys want me to say, or to fit any type of expectations that you may have of me. No, I don't want to disappoint you ever, right? Because I love you guys and I don't want you guys to say, well, I can't trust Lady Freedom or I don't like her. But in the same way, I'm willing to risk that in order to continue following the facts and the truth and following what's right. If I put myself in the wrong, then I'm just as bad as Chris and Katie, in my opinion. If I put myself in a position where I just start with clickbait and show and this and that and the other, and then I hide these details that I know from you guys, I'm lying to you by omission. So I think it's so important that through Jill's perseverance and research, through Jen taking that and putting it out into her platform, it's opening a lot of doors that we can then check a box off of when it comes to finding Sebastian Rogers. But there's so much other good that can come from this. We have got to work with law enforcement, not against them. And by knowing this, that they've already enlisted this person's help, that tells me that someone somewhere along the lines lied and spread some shitty rumors about how the TBI doesn't give a crap and that they're not actually looking for Sebastian, because we have gotten from a third party source that is actively working for Sebastian here in Florida. I don't know if you guys remember this rumor, but I certainly do. Saying, oh, they asked Grady Judd out in Florida for help, or excuse me, Grady Judd offered his services to help Sebastian and they turned him down. That was something that I heard was an active rumor. It doesn't appear that that's the case, especially if they're already working with a search and rescue organization out of Florida. Grady Judd's in Florida, right? So they're utilizing resources outside of Sumner County. So that means that Eric Craddock, who holds the jurisdiction, his office, his detectives, are the ones that call the shots. But he is willingly allowing for this to be utilized, as is the TBI. And I'm going to tell you the truth, even if it means that something I've said in the past wasn't accurate, because I'm going to stand up for what's right. And a lot of times that's gets you in more trouble than lying to people. Just telling the truth, something they don't want to hear, they'll be more pissed off about that than you lying bull-faced to their face, live after live after live after live. I'm not going to do it. I fucking refuse. Also, when we called they took our number to route it to a correct person, and they called us for the report also. Yeah, and I mean, they will, Witchy, but you're not gonna, nobody's gonna get an award for it, right? You're not doing it. It's to find a missing person. It's not to get notoriety. And anytime that people think that that's what they're gonna get off of it, then they're setting themselves up for disappointment. Sammy says, so many questions about what is doing, or about who is doing what, excuse me. So the TBI is searching, FBI is hopefully monitoring the Prouds and the Bees. The narcissist, yeah. This in Sumner County is doing DNA and TBI, doing DNA on cups and TBI, or an FBI. Investigating Sumner and the conspiracy. Well, here's the thing, Sammy. I think that it goes without saying that the investigation wasn't handled correctly in the beginning, right? But I think they started to handle it accordingly as they were getting information, right? At first, on the surface, it looks like this poor mother, right, is missing her son. She woke up and he's not there, right? But if we look at what Craddock has said, we've also have to remember that he didn't believe Katie about the shoes. He didn't. Not at all. As a matter of fact, he said it publicly. I'm not going to say that he was barefoot, okay? His mom's saying all the shoes are accounted for, not going to say he's barefoot. So take that into consideration also, right? But he hasn't said not a word. Now, we also have Detective Brandon Carter, who has never came out publicly and ever addressed the public about Sebastian. Now, some of us think that that's weird. I know I do, right? I do. I think it's weird. But if I look back historically, I can also see that a lot of times that's not common for a detective to come out like that, right? And I also think they're trying to keep everything they can close to the vest, because I do not think that there's a lot of evidence in this case, either because it wasn't collected in the beginning or because Chris and Katie did that good of a job. But here's the thing. Here's the kicker. It doesn't matter how good of a job they did. If they did something wrong, it's going to come out. It'll be found out. It just will. So if they had something to do with it, there's no perfect crime out there. Everybody gets caught, whether it's from a cigarette butt from the scene, whether it's because they left a palm print. I watched a cold case get solved with a palm print, right? All of these things, these little things that nobody thinks about. What about all the evidence they collected using the Pharaoh cameras? What about all of the evidence they collected in terms of footage that they collected? Are they going to come out and tell us about it? Hell no, they're not. Yeah, Faye. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to it. And honestly, I think it could push some things in the right direction. I do. I think it could push things in the right direction because obviously, there would be some people who would be acting out if that occurred. If they would come out and do that, and that's one thing that I do still have a frustration about, when it comes to Sumner County. Well, I think some assume TBI is not doing anything because we weren't given updates. Yeah, you're right, Rosebud. Yeah. But they are not allowed to give out information on an active investigation. And I think that's so important to remember also, because even again in Devlin Tate's case, I learn as I go along, right? I'm still very new at this, but as I go along, I'm realizing, Sumner County is not just being hateful, right? When they're like, oh, we have the information, na, you can't get it, that sort of thing. Because it was the same thing when I spoke to Detective Castle. She told me I can't answer that because it's an active and ongoing investigation. But I get what you're saying when we're not given any updates. And I think they could have given some stronger updates. And I also think that I was frustrated with the execution of the update that we received from the FBI. Now, I can have whatever feelings and thoughts about it, just like any of you guys can, right? We're all entitled to have our own brains thinking and working and understanding and processing the information and then coming to our own conclusions. We're regularly going to do that. It's just human nature. It's how our brains work. If we don't have all of the information, we're filling in the gaps, right? We're going, okay, this had to have logically happened next, right? And without having the facts, it's very difficult to follow everything. Because again, we have very, very little from law enforcement. I mean, very little. And then we have the statements from Seth, the statements from the Proud Feet, right? Some things that were said maybe by, flying monkey socks on the internet, even down to Melissa, even down to what Melissa was saying about we've been searching for since 6:30, right? And that's always stood out to me. Now, again, what Kiki is talking about with the sighting at, I guess, Shackle Island Fire Station. Look, guys, they didn't have the mobile command set up until after Sebastian was reported missing. Okay? That's kind of ridiculous to think that somebody was there. Well, I mean, what does that prove or disprove? How does that help find Sebastian? It doesn't. I'm just going to, no, it doesn't help. All it does is fuel conspiracy, in my opinion. Oh, they're actively involved, Funtuski. And no, they have to invite anybody in, right, to help them. So, Sumner County hasn't shut down out of working with TBI or FBI, right? They haven't shut that down, or they haven't said, no, we're not going to accept your help. They brought in, several agencies in the first 7 days. That's how they were able to have all of that technology in such a small little area as Sumner County, right? Because, guys, Sumner County is a little tiny area that grew and is growing, and so, yeah, they have absolutely invited TBI, and TBI has been actively working. So that's why in the beginning we even heard about Bobby Simmons, right, from TBI, and Chris was like name dropping him like it was hot, So yeah, Yeah, I agree. I agree. Detroit, there's a lot of things that I just don't agree with him on, but knowing this does make me think a little bit differently, right? In a small way. It doesn't change a lot of what I feel about the situation or what I think about it. But it does, look, it's any type of new information that I'm getting, right? Is gonna, because that's what a good detective does, right? A good investigator is going to follow the facts wherever. They're not just going to say, no, I'm digging my heels in the sand and I don't like that person. We can always have a weird vibe off of people. We really can. And, Snuggle Struggles is never going to leave. I mean, it's here to stay, you know? So, KP doesn't act at all worried. No. And Cinderella, that's a big one for me, is that it seems to me that she knows, right, what happened because she's not worried, in my opinion. There's a lot of things and a lot of people who absolutely think that Katie shows guilt in different ways. Right? And it's not just because, well, I don't like her. I don't like the looks of that one. It's not shallow. There's a reason behind it. Now, intent is something that I think about. Intent is something that I think about. Was there something that happened accidentally? Maybe it's a politician in higher place that stopped them allegedly. Well, and we don't know. We don't know, Faye. Oh no. Sammy, did you do Holly Bobo video? No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Hey, Devin here. Not Devlin. Good to see you. Hey, Devin. Thanks for being here. Not Devlin. The timeline is important if it's correct and not been given the wrong information. And, Funtuski, that's the whole big picture, right? Because it's difficult when we don't have a correct timeline, and we just don't. Let's be honest. We know that Katie and Sebastian went to BJ's, right? They went there, they couldn't bowl, so they did something else, or they went straight to the Roadhouse. And then by the time Sebastian's leaving the Roadhouse, and he gets home is about 7 o'clock at night, if he made it home. But then we have this huge time where we have no idea what happened or where Sebastian is, right? Because anything could have happened. And then we have minimal, if not nothing, to suggest that he left the house, according to law enforcement. They were doing that heat-seeking stuff from the walls and everything. I agree with that too, Detroit. I agree with that. And, they did snub us. Not Craddock. Obviously not Craddock specifically. I did not encounter him, nor did I care to. But I would like to ask him some questions. I don't think he'd answer me. Do I think that Chris and Katie deserve to be in trouble for what happened to Sebastian with CPS reports? I do. That's another thing that I can't get over. I can't reconcile that in my brain, no matter how hard I try, because there are 4 of them that we know about, and then there's one more that's still open, and all of a sudden Sebastian goes missing. And we have all of these series of events that are happening, and in my opinion, Seth is like oblivious to a lot of this stuff. And it really bothers me as a parent, knowing that just because he wasn't spending the majority of time at Seth's house, that Seth was completely left out of the whole situation, as if he didn't even exist. And I believe that Seth was treated like that in the beginning when it came to the Proudfoots and them getting information from law enforcement. You know? But what we don't have is proof that he's not alive. That's true, Sammy. So as much disdain as we all have for the Bowerfoots, the Bowerfoots, and the Bad Apple sheriffs, they can't arrest them for nothing. Boom, Sammy, that's it. They can't. I mean, I would not want to be arrested with nothing. And not only that, that's not going to hold in court. It'll never go through. It just won't. I mean, not unless they're being charged specifically for the abuse of Sebastian. But again, there's no witness. You have to have a witness. And Sebastian is the witness. He's the one who was victimized, in my opinion. There's not 4 CPS reports and then 5 CPS reports for no friggin' reason. There was absolutely something bad going on in that house, and Sebastian was bearing the brunt of it. No, make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. And they're responsible because they're the ones that are the adults in the household, period. That's it. They made no strides to better the situation. They should have been in counseling too. If they were doing counseling and parenting classes to make sure that they were doing the right thing, then I would have given them credit for where credit's due. But they weren't. They were blaming Sebastian, trying to send him to a place where kids in juvie go, which is not deserved, in my opinion. And they do need to they do need to start with the abuse, Faye, and I get it, but I will tell you, they can't do much without the victim, the witness, Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They had to have closed the case out for it to be reopened a second time. They closed that case out, reopened it a third time. They closed the third one out and reopened it a fourth time. They closed the fourth one out and reopened it a fifth time. And it's still open. I mean, guys, that's ridiculous. That should never have happened. It's their damn fault. Because they were closing these things and then it was open again. Right. And I think that's I think that's a good explanation for it. And there may be some other explanations, Scranton, but that's the one I think is the most logical. You know? Yeah. I mean, and what it really comes down to for me is not that I like them or that I don't, because obviously their behaviors are not ones that we would expect, at all. They fit more into the behaviors of people who are guilty than they do of ones that are innocent. But we also have to be able to prove it, and that's what's really, really difficult. So, and I also want to point to one more thing that we did learn in October of 2025, right? That there was a warrant served on Chris and Katie, right? Nothing was served on Seth. They served it on Chris and Katie. And so when we think about that, then we can't really say that they're not doing anything, because they were doing something and they did do something, So, Lady Freedom, did you see the beginnings of TNCPS? I DM'd you right as you were leaving for vacation. Oh, no, let me go look. I'm so sorry. Hey, Kiki, we're playing you. We're playing you and Jen. I didn't want to come up on panel, and I'm sorry. The only reason why is because I knew that Jen had more information than I did. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, Jen knows what's up. In the Red Wine case, it was 4 years since he's missing and bones were found. The investigators went back to the house with luminol, which was used in court. Yes, it was. They did a whole reconstruction of the living room, Rosebud, right? Yes, they did. But also during that time, the skull was found. Exactly. They didn't do anything when they found the bones. They didn't. they were like, we need more. Then they finally found his skull, right? And that was for a different, the big search group that did a grid, they're the ones that found his bones. So they knew the general vicinity, but they couldn't find anything else. Well, then all of a sudden, here's Dylan's skull found, and they used the luminol. There was indications of cleaned up blood and everything, and then also blood where it should have been if there was some sort of an event that happened in the living room, which that's where it was alleged to have happened, with evidence of the homicide. Yes. And that's the thing. I mean, guys, people think they can clean that kind of stuff up. They're not going to. Just look at Gannon Stouck's case, Just look. Devin says, I'm in Colorado, and the Gannon story still troubles a lot of people in the community. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Of course. It troubles me as well. Yeah, she's going to have another trial. Yeah, so is Alex Murdaugh, Thank you, Kiki. That definitely deserve to be in trouble for the CPS reports, but I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. Yeah, I think so too. That's my thing, Sammy. I really think that it's because there's no witness. If Sebastian was found, they could definitely put that as and charge them with that. If it's them that's responsible, which I mean, guys, I make no qualms about it, about how I feel, but that doesn't mean that I'm right. Little Miss Sharon, thank you for gifting a Lady Freedom's Raw Narratives membership. That's so sweet, Little Miss Sharon. Thank you very much. And make sure you thank Little Miss Sharon and welcome to the Dragon Tribe. Oh, Daisy Duke got it. That's fantastic. Yay, Daisy Duke. Welcome to the Dragon Tribe. Yeah, so, I mean, important to just recognize the information that we have now that we didn't have before.
Okay, let me show you. Hold on. Oh, shit. Where'd it go? Okay, hold on. Here we go. I'm going to have to take this off, though, so I can, you guys can, well, you don't have to hear anything, do you? No. It'll still play. I'll do the whole share entire screen, because you don't have to hear you have to hear us.
Oh yeah, Jen, I did. I just showed that part. I did. Let me make sure. Hold on.
Here, let me go up. That one's flowing. So this.
Oh, here we go. This one too. Oh, great. Funtuski. Thank you.
This one right here is flowing.
Me and you, if I can find that, if somebody wants to send me that link.
So this one, the pipe that you see here, it's flowing, right?
I'll look it up while you are watching this.
Easily flowing, no big deal. This is where it's at. So it's a little bit toward, Sebastian that way. And see how it's flowing, easily flowing. And there's really nothing that was blocking it, okay? Nothing blocking it. Now this one's the one that I'm talking about. This one right here. I want you to see it again. Right there. So you see that it's got like this little fence. It's got a piece of wood that's covering the fence, making it stay still, but it's blocked. There's not any water that's really coming out of it because it's blocked. Absolutely blocked. That bridge that I'm talking to you about, that I've got the hot spot, is right here. And you can see all of the debris, and we found a lot of that. There is a lot of debris that it would take us a lot of people to pick that up. There it is. There's a bridge.
Guys, look at all that. Look at all that. That is pretty tall, Jen. I would say it's about 6 foot tall. Goodness sakes.
So all of that water that's blocked, that isn't blocked, it's going and it's flowing this way.
Okay, so that's what we were talking about. Okay, if you guys remember correctly in the dispatch, they were saying, you know, in the construction area, they were asking the contractor to contact them. LE was, if they saw anything, guys. So did they search? Did they search like closely, like we think they did? In my opinion, we don't think that they searched these waterways and culverts and stuff. Hey, Christy Smith. Let's see. Paige said she saw it live. Let's see. Okay, the water system, y'all are talking. Yeah. But last night, during Lady Freedom's Live, when Liberty said that, and now it's hitting me that Mom Boss Mayo said that same thing, right? That I'm like, guys, why hasn't law enforcement been all over that? I remember, even if y'all remember correctly, put a 1 in chat. If you remember on the dispatch that LE said, oh, we can't get down in there. And they were a long haul of pike. We can't get down in there. It's too dense. I don't know if they meant that they couldn't physically get down in there or that they couldn't get in there with a drone.
Wait, guys, yeah, because they were using drones in the beginning too. Hey, Holly S. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking they just didn't have the technology, but I remember them talking about putting the cameras down, right? But like Jen was saying in her live, you can't get the cameras down in that muddy area, right? In the basins, and so you know, I kind of wanted to point that out too. And I know, you know what, Funtuski, I showed it the other night on my live. You could see it a little bit better since we're playing it off of each other's. But if you zoom in, like if you're on your phone, you should be able to like take and your thumb and your index finger and zoom in to it. That's the only thing I can think of. But I did show it on my other one too, because I could see what you guys are saying where it's small. Kind of hard to see it.
Right? I'm a little lost. How far is this from the house? Okay, the culvert, from my opinion, what I understand, Angel, is it is behind where they had the command center. So it runs down from construction through the subdivision. I'm going to pull the map up. Yeah, Mom Boss Mayo. I tried to find that and I can't get it pulled up in enough time. We'll have to go over that next time. But that'd be interesting to see because I remember her walking up to the wood saying, "Shoo, what is that?" I remember that specifically. But y'all gotta also remember Melissa. Remember that? The sister-in-law. Remember her allegedly. Remember her putting this on Facebook before he was allegedly reported missing, right?
Yeah, guys, and this was February 27th, right? So the 26th was the first day, but she talks about them searching from 6:30, in the morning. So, and she does talk about that. Well, she says, "Hey everyone, this is my nephew. He's high functioning verbal autistic. He walked out of the house in the middle of the night with his glasses and a small flashlight and no shoes. We've been searching since 6:30 a.m. yesterday. Then are searching or excuse me, they are searching the 10 miles around his home. Now, she's inaccurate with that also because they started out in a smaller radius and worked their way out. Because obviously, and this is in search and rescue, there's been books and statistics, all of that written about it. And again, going back to Devlin Tate's case, this is how I learned this because there's a man that has all of this data. I think it's even spanning back to the 1980s, right? With all of this data and different habits and different cases that have been documented in order to show these patterns, right? And what has happened statistically, that's how they can pull those numbers and see that. And it's typically, people are found within a short distance from where they went missing from. That's just statistically speaking, right? And so I think that's why they were focusing in on those areas. And I want to pull the part up with the map. Okay, here we go. And this is Sartopo, or excuse me, this is CalTopo map.
It's actually a health risk too, in my opinion. Like in your city, they normally clear all those, right? Because it's an environmental risk. Hey, Tina Davis, thank you for coming in, dear. We're going to look at this. So this is supposed to be the CalTopo search, and searchers use this to put their initials there when they're searching, okay? And I'm going to show you all these different things mean different things, and I'm not going to study it like I want to right now. But the circle, let me show you guys. And lady, you can correct me on this. I'll come back to chat when I get this scooted up. But the circle with the X on it, guys, that's Sebastian's home. Okay, I'm zoom in.
All right, guys, really quick. Yeah, Sammy says, I vaguely remember Dog saying that the drones went under the street. I don't understand sewers, etc. But that's something else we needed to look for the soot and mud at the bottom. Yeah, I agree with that. And I think he was probably talking about the cameras. I don't know that they used drones under the streets, which would make sense, I guess. I just don't know anything about it. I do know that they have underwater drones that are utilized. I just don't know specifically what all happened, but I know that, even the Proud Feet were talking about the cameras going down into some of these underground systems, that they were using cameras, but how far did they go? And they're not going to get down into where we're looking at into those basins and where the, water is collecting. And other debris is collecting, so, but yeah, that's a good point. And thank you, Holly, for dropping the link for Sebastian's flyer.
It says last known sighting. If you scroll in really far, for whatever reason, it's showing him at the back of his house, which confuses me. Okay. But yeah, Angel, that's a good possibility. Or what if, God forbid, Ellie was chasing him after he got out of the car because he didn't want to go where Katie wanted him to go? What if somebody was chasing him? I mean, who knows at this point? We don't want to think the worst, but some weird things have been said. So, okay,
Devin,
let's move over here. Right here, am I right, Lady Freedom? Tell me where it says Zone D3 or anybody in the chat. Right there is the command center.
Guys, I think we're looking at D2, which I know is confusing, but that's where we're looking at D2. And again, how CalTopo works is it gives you a key right here. So these are the areas that you can look and you can click onto them or click off of them, and it will show them that spot only, right? And so that's how you can tell what's been logged in here is looking at this key. So if you see the red flags, access point, drainage pipe under the road, right? And he's marked these. Now, again, I do need to give credit where credit is due, guys. We have to all work together. And I know I'm not a fan of Fishy. Okay, I'm not a fan of Steve Fisher. And I have the personal reasons for that. But again, put my personal reasons aside, and this is information that's been logged by Steve Fisher, right? This is his CalTopo map, right? That he's logged his search information onto, right? And then someone can download CalTopo and add to this, right? Or make up their own, however it works, right? It just depends on how you set it up and how you're logging searches. But it's a great tool to log searches. And I know for a fact, again, that Devlin Tate's group uses CalTopo. I was told to download it when we were doing the search for Sebastian. But it wasn't on a grander, scale, and the areas that we searched was behind the church, right? And we went to the river, and a group of us was on one side of the river and a group of us was on the other side of the river, and we were walking up and down in that specific area, right? So yeah, it's just, I want to let you guys know what we're looking at here. And again, it's very easy to identify because there's map objects, a key, I call it a key, but you can look and on there see what's been logged.
Right? Yeah, that's where it looks like. So the command center is almost directly across from the cemetery. So your waterways are going to drain across the street, right? So all these waterways connect, allegedly, right? So what I'm getting at here is you see all these different lines? That is where people allegedly have searched and marked where they have searched, which the yellow allegedly, I think, is SF. Okay. And that's supposed to be like a drone footage. I mean, who knows? It's kind of hard. I don't believe it, but it does go through the cemetery. One thing that stood out to me too, right there's the pond, right?
Yeah, and guys, also the ponds are a big part of the water system because that's where water is collecting from rain and different things of that nature. I've always felt like maybe an event for Mother Nature would bring Sebastian to the surface. Yeah, absolutely, Holly. And that's the thing. It just all takes time, and I really, in my heart, I think we're going to be able to find Sebastian if we just try, if we really put effort towards it, and then also letting time play things out. And that goes for even if he is at a school or something, he'd age out at a certain point. And so maybe that's what we're looking at, it would be the best case scenario, in my opinion. Especially after seeing little Jasper, because he was a little baby, little toddler. Now all of a sudden he looks like he grew overnight, from the last pictures that we saw of him. So, the same thing would go for Sebastian, being that he went missing right when he turns 15, and then all of a sudden we see him older, right? And hopefully healthy and well taken care of. So, Funtuski, yeah, the system was used in the Suzanne Morphew case. It tracked the searches areas, in my opinion. Yeah, and it's a good system, I think, Funtuski, and it's also integrated with SARTOPO. So that's a good thing. So I hope that maybe Steve has maybe integrated some of the information that law enforcement has from SARTOPO. I don't know how that exactly works, the integration and everything like that. But that would be interesting because again, if he did this many, searches in the area, then I think that would be good to show, right? Like we did one search. What I'm trying to say is that we did one search, so the fact that we only did one search, that's why I was like, okay, on a grander scale, but this, he's done many searches, and I've also looked over this map before. Kiki and I have actually months ago, and we're like, oh, I don't know what to believe. We didn't know what to believe, but we also, um, have to look at everything. And if he's saying that he has cleared some of these areas, then I would just have to assume that he did. Um, Holly says, I know, right? Just like Devlin Tate, you think something would show up. Yeah, I know, exactly. Well, and Devlin, being a bit taller, being a little bit more, to him. Oh, I know. And I hate thinking that, so. Right. That's funny. Faye says, in my opinion, the area should fixer excluded need to be searched double, right, Faye? Oh my goodness. No, Rose, but I can see ya. I can see ya. I wish that I wish that camper that the Proudfoots gave back to the Bower Sox and then sold to a third party, in my opinion. I've always thought about the switch off with that too, Funtuski. And that's another element to things. That 17 hours, I know it sticks with me too. It does. It sticks with me. Okay, guys, so I want to put it over to where Jen comes up. Hold on a second, because they're going to pull the map up again. So just bear with me here.
She's in my link. Jen entered. Oh, there's a knock at the door, guys.
Oh,
there is a knock coming in.
Knock. Hey, girl.
I'm being crazy right now. I'm tired.
Shoot, I am too. After staying up listening to Lady Freedom, it's
I
1:30,
know,
way past my bedtime. But I wanted to be in there as she was, talking about it. So, if you show your map again,
Holly,
okay,
can you show your map again? Because I want us to all be on the same page. And then we did hear back from the Otter handler.
Okay,
we did hear back. So I do have some interesting news.
All right, let's get this pulled up for you.
Okay. And thank you for allowing me up here, and thank you for keeping Sebastian's name out there.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, so go to the top of Willow Bend.
Okay, top of
Go
Willow
to the top of Willow Bend on that Cal Topo. And we're just gonna go where that red is up there. Oh no, where the yellow is. Yeah, that yellow
Right
on top of Willow Bend. Yep. Yeah, go.
Okay,
Can you zoom in there?
Oh, let's move it up. Lord, this computer girl is so full. And it's a cheapo. It's one of those El Cheapos.
What is the yellow line saying?
It's saying that, like the red, the yellow is supposed to be SF.
Okay.
And his droning. Yeah.
Okay. So that's not okay. So since Sebastian's been missing, we're looking for him. Whether we're looking for him out of state, in state, in the water, this is just another angle that we're looking at. Whereas the top of Willow Bend, there was a huge 10-foot wide gaping hole manhole that was not covered. And it's a part of the stormwater drain system. So what happens is the water comes down from the top of Willow Bend where that big manhole was open, and it comes down to those retention ponds. But as it does, there are catch basins. Okay, so if you were to show my live from the other night, I'm showing the catch basins. Jeff emailed them to me. I showed the chat that the catch basins, that's where the sediment and everything would just settle. Okay, so Sebastian goes missing. 2 days later, it stormed. It was some heavy rain. Okay,
Yeah,
but
I
then
remember that.
But then 3 months later, this is when it flooded. Okay, so within the time frame that Sebastian's been missing, 2 years, all we are wondering is if the basins, if the pipes and basins, because there's probably 20 of them, if not more, that would collect sediment in the very bottom of the basin, of the catch basin. Okay,
Wow.
so what we were wondering is if that had been cleared, if those basins, not just the pipes, but the basins too, in that new construction area had been cleared. That's all we wanted to know, because when we saw the culvert and it was, you know, on the bottom. So if you go down to Long Hollow Pike, like if you were to take that map and you go down to Long Hollow Pike, there's a nut there. That's where the water would come out from Willow Bend and Long Hollow. That's where there's going to be a culvert, and the culvert isn't dripping. It's just stagnant right there. So we're not trying to get that culvert cleared out. We're just making note that it is not dripping. When we were there, it just wasn't dripping. The other one from Kellyn, that one was flowing really good. But the one at Willow Bend and Long Hollow wasn't flowing really good. So we were just making note of that. We're not trying to get the culvert cleared out. We don't think that that would make any difference. What we think is that if Sebastian would have got caught up in that water system, rather than looking all through the creek and down into the river, why don't we make sure that Sebastian wouldn't be from here to there within a half mile of this water system, of the storm water drain system?
Okay, guys. So do you guys understand what Jen's saying about the stormwater drain system? Because I know it's confusing, and if you guys want me to pull up the photo again, just let me know. Like, don't be shy to say, like, I don't get it, because I'll tell you, I didn't fully understand it either. I was just shaking my head, yeah, okay, right, at first, until Jeff was like, hey, I emailed you a picture of that, and he probably knows, because, here's for Lady Freedom, because she's, not saying she's confused, but she's a little confused as to, like, how it all worked, right? But when you see that little basin, thank you, Couponing knows, so, because when you see that basin, I will, Detroit, yeah, like, you can see then how the system works to collect the debris at the bottom of these. Like, that's what it's designed for, right? Because you have these pipes and the water would flow through, but there's going to be debris and stuff that is caught in there. And especially, guys, like, let's be honest, the construction guys are not clean with a lot of their shit. They're throwing their pop cans, they don't care. And then, there's these big gaping holes. So a lot of debris and stuff could have gotten in these holes along the way, right, in this new construction area and things like that. So what these work to do is to let the water flow freely through the pipes, and there's catch basins along the way, so that way if things are going to catch in there, they're going to catch in a certain spot, right? And some of them are going to flow out, the things that are going to be able to stay buoyant in the water and float to the top. But then there's also going to be all of this other sediment, excuse me, not sentiment, nothing sentimental about this, right? But it's going to catch in the bottom, right? That sediment, that sludge, that debris, it's going to collect. And then the water is going to flow through, and then there's another basin that collects. And Jen is saying that she thinks there's maybe about 20 to 30 basins located in this radius from where the pipe is clogged to where Sebastian went missing from, right? Just right by his house. I mean, right there. It's blocked off nowadays, but it wasn't back then. It wasn't back then. So let me play this through. Let me grab a picture really quick.
Majorly would include the catch basins. I can crawl through the pipe. You can't crawl through the pipe. We can't just, but that this Otter, this handler, is dedicated and has been dedicated working with the TBI.
Wow.
We know that.
Yep.
So we got that information today.
Wow. Okay. See, yeah, we just, you know, I know it takes its toll on Seth. We don't feel nothing like Seth, you know, no comparison.
I don't think that Sebastian is deceased. I think that he is just unable to contact.
Yep. That's what I feel like.
I think that it's legal. I don't think that it's just a misdemeanor
There you
if that
go.
were to be the case. But if we look at all angles and we look at all theories and just, you know, I'm not even trying to cast blame on anybody. I'm just saying
Nope.
my goal, our goal is to find Sebastian.
Yeah.
All that other stuff can work itself out, but where is Sebastian?
Right, guys. And I think that's the biggest thing that we have to remember. Hey, Claudia. So I think we do have to remember that, guys, because I know, look, I have my own theories, feelings, thoughts, all of it. You guys know I'm very honest with the way I'm thinking and feeling, but that's just mostly because I'm trying to present the case honestly to you. But and you know, you guys are asking for my opinion, or you know, it's Lady Freedom's raw narrative, right, whatever. But it's just, to me, this would make a lot of sense to check this. I just don't think that they had the technology, obviously, like this otter, because this otter is a new thing that we know about now. But this is a good example of what we're looking at, right? The curb, the grate, and the curb, and this is what we see a lot of times in neighborhoods. You know, where it'll be a grate, right? Manhole cover is what they call them, and then you know the street and the curb. So beneath this is where the debris collects, right? So again, I think looking at this again, we can tell how the otter would probably be able to go down into this at each point where there's a grate. Because it usually is located underneath the grate. And I'm sorry that I didn't put two and two together. Sometimes I'm too busy presenting that I'm not, you know, catching every little thing. But then once we look back at it, you know, we see more things as we go. So, Rosebud, that's a great point. And remember, Gannon being found was due to a bridge workers inspecting bridges after extreme flooding in that area. If not for flooding, who knows if he would ever have been found. In my opinion, that's God's work. I'm right there with you, Rosebud. Yeah, it's just, you know, the natural order of things coming to light, you know. And I agree, because Letitia brutally put him over that bridge thinking no one's going to find him, that he would wash away into, you know, again, the water system. Yeah, that's a great point. They drain the Colorado rivers, if that means anything. We are in a drought now. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, you know, there was major areas of flooding too, Devin. There was, since Sebastian went missing. Did SF ever look into CPS schools, etc.? In my opinion, he was hired to direct what and how things were investigated. Yeah, I agree with that, Valley Gal. And you know, I know people say that, you know, there was a lot of money that Chris and Katie have spent, and I don't ever want to discount the billboards. So they did the billboards. I think that's a good thing. I would never discount the billboards because billboards are important in a case like this. Um, so, but I know he's a distraction in my opinion. There's just a lot that I don't appreciate that he's done, even in other cases. But again, you know, if he's logging this stuff, I mean, I think it's worth looking over, and kind of taking it like, you know, with a grain of salt. But even people who aren't as trustworthy will tell the truth sometimes. You know, we just have to kind of figure it out as we go. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Sammy. I know. Well, and I think it's important. Sammy says, I will definitely come back and study this diagram. Thank you for providing him, or providing it when I hear basins and culverts, my brain stops. Picture I will definitely well help. That's me, Sammy. So you and me, Jeff, was like for all those visual people out there, because I'm very visual learner myself. I like to see things. Hey Groot, good to see you, Groot. And I want to see it. So well, and he never talks about Sebastian publicly, Faye, and I will say that much. I mean, that part really upsets me because I figure why wouldn't he say anything? Um so the update with the Otter group is that TBI and Sumner County have worked with the Otter, right? Excuse me. Sumner County, excuse me, let me rephrase that. So Sumner County and TBI have been working with the Otter's handler. We are assuming that the Otter has not been utilized in Sebastian's case, but the handler is absolutely dedicated and has signed an NDA previously with the TBI and absolutely is dedicated to finding Sebastian. So, really big news. We're assuming that the Otter was not used, and so we're hoping that in the future they will be able to help us clear these basins out, right? To make sure that there's nothing in them. Because there was these huge holes, right? Like this was the grate wasn't there. It was just a huge hole. Oh my gosh, look at the sky. This is funny. Oh my goodness sakes. Okay. And so the water goes down, right, and out the pipe, but all of this collects here underneath, right? Because the water coming in is going to create, or excuse me, the when the water comes in, it's going to gather debris and things when it floods out, and that's where it's going to catch everything, so the water can run freely through the pipes, right? So right at the source, they have the grate, that is going to kind of stop bigger debris from falling, but there's going to be other things that are falling, right? But if somebody was caught back here, say I was caught and say I fell in, okay? Just say me, not Sebastian, because I don't know. But just say I fell in and I was like I got washed away down in there, right? I could have made it through and then just landed right here, right? And so I think it's worth looking into, especially if they have this Otter when they didn't have him before, and the TBI is already working with this search and rescue team. So, really exciting. And again, the Otter is only 2 years old, so there's a willingness from Sumner County and TBI to use Splash. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're already working with him, so I'm guessing that if we put some public pressure on for them to check this out for us, that they'll do it. They'll invite him in, and he could get some training in a different field. And I think because he's new, I think that they would do something like that. I really do. You know, um, so again, there's these areas.
Great. Inlet and outlet pipes. So when I'm talking about a catch basin, how many would you think, Jeff? How many would you think that are between that Willow Bend and Long Hollow where we looked? How many basins would you think that there are that they would have to search without any obstruction of the camera? See, this would be the floatables, and then everything would drop to the bottom, and that would create a debris. So there's got to be a bunch of debris that is not allowing that new construction area water to flow into the creek properly. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Thank you, little Miss Sharon. Oh my goodness. Thank you. She says SOS. Witchy, thank you. She says SOS muted. Thanks, guys. I was just going on and on. But what I was saying is that we've never been able to see any video in its entirety, right? We've never been able to see any true video at all. So the reason why I started saying this, and what brought it to my attention, there we go. I mean, really, no one actually saw her pull in and go into the home after the Texas Roadhouse. That could have been anyone. No one actually saw her. Boom, Rosebud. This is exactly it. We don't know. We've never seen any footage that hasn't been tampered with. Again, I'll say it again. I'm sorry, At Night, but your footage has been tampered with. We don't get to see the footage raw in it when it's never been edited before. We've never gotten any kind of true footage from Sebastian's case, and that goes to little Miss Sharon. I'm just talking away. But you know, that goes for any of us, right? Because even like the stuff that was leaked out, and I had made a comment on hindsight, but even the stuff that was leaked out from the neighbors, that was put on Facebook, like social media, right? And then also given to some creators, like Jay is for Justice got some footage from the neighbors, you know, that was the ruckus video. And then, but again, those were leaked out onto Facebook as well. And then Mob Crew has been given this footage, or he says he has a whole bunch of footage from the neighbors, right? Or the angles from the cemetery, things of that nature. But we've never been able to actually see any of the footage like raw and from the source ever. Never have we ever. We never saw the trash video, right, where Sebastian supposedly takes the trash out. We've never seen Katie, whether it was her or not, because I've thought about it also, Rosebud, that, you know, it very much could have been a situation where Katie had switched cars out. And you had said, I had a thought completely speculative, but what if KP didn't go home after the Texas Roadhouse and someone else is in her car? Then the 3 a.m. was the person that came out there, right? KP goes back, hence the flashlight returning back to the home, right? Because that's huge too. You know, we have that. Again, what I'm referring to is, you know, the videos that were kind of leaked out, and then the Nick Barris video, but was also leaked, right? That was taken with somebody else's cell phone, given to Nick. And here's the thing. We don't know, because they could have switched vehicles, right? Because their vehicles look alike, for one, but they could have also switched a vehicle at any time. So Katie could have taken Sebastian somewhere in that time and could have absolutely dropped him off somewhere. Like, she could have told him, like, we're going to go here and we're going to, you know, I'm going to take you there, right? But she switches cars and somebody else goes and pulls in the driveway. You can't tell. And besides, we've never seen it with our own two eyes anyway. So for me, I want to see it. Again, show me. Don't tell me that you have a receipt for something and then you don't show me, right? Because that's just crazy, ridiculous. So I can't believe that Sebastian made it home either way, and that would be a big reason, you know. And people have kind of said that too, like, was there some kind of something going on, right, like that? And I think that that's a very strong suspicion. I mean, in my opinion. And again, I'm not trying to just place blame on Katie because I don't like her. It's because she was the last one with Sebastian. Seth's at work, or about to start work. I think, you know, I can't remember when he was working, but he was definitely, in my opinion, not involved. It takes a little minute to get from Seth's to the Proudfoot, so we'll just say that. about an hour. I mean, I'm sure you can make it about 45 minutes or so. Um, yeah, yeah, I know Valley Gale. I agree. I agree. But great points, Rosebud, and I think that's important to recognize and remember. Um, wasn't the chatter at one point about needing to switch vehicles back between Mama Socks and KP if they swapped vehicles the first time between Texas Roadhouse and home to drop off Sebastian? It would never be tracked. And I think the perfect spot, Witchy, would be off of Stop 30 Road. That would be the swap point for me, because it's very risky to take two vehicles to, even let's say, like that BP station that's right over there, and risk getting caught on camera or someone seeing you, right, switching vehicles. But on top of that, that would just be the perfect space. And also, I guess it was alleged that there's 6 minutes of audio on the um, we'll just call it a dash cam. I don't care. But on something that was recording, right, like a dash cam would, um, and there was 6 minutes of audio on it. I don't know who started that rumor, if it's even true, but that's how long it takes to get from the Texas Roadhouse to Stop 30 Road, in that area of Stop 30 Road. Every time Mob says he's got tons of info, but he can't say it, really pisses me off. If you know these things, share it. It's not cool debate like that. Yeah, I hear that, Detroit. I hear that. And also, I don't know. I just don't like how, hey, if yeah, no, I know. Ugh, I know. It's a good point. It's a good point. Um, yeah, I was interested in seeing the alleged sighting. I will say that. That was interesting, and but I don't think it was Chris, because I do think it's a thinner guy with a beard. Chris is a bigger guy. He's rounder in front. I mean, I'm just gonna say that, but it is what it is. I'm not trying to body shame CP over here, but I'm being forced to. So don't hold it against me. But I mean, look, and Chris also has like high cheekbones. Oh my god, here I am just like rating Chris, right? Oh god. But no, he has like higher cheekbones. He doesn't wear glasses. And again, we're made to think that Chris is like attending school in Maryland. That doesn't match up for me. But the glasses thing, um, so um only one that says there's audio of Sebastian as Proudfoot, not LE, right? Yeah. To the best of my knowledge, they've never come out and said anything about it. So we know Sebastian was in the car. We saw him get in it at the Texas Roadhouse. What we don't know is what happened after that. And Rosebud, I think that's where it's very suspicious, right? Like, because we have this huge lapse of time where we're only relying on Katie and her recollection of events. We have nothing solid from law enforcement. They weren't there. How are they supposed to know? You know, but no, law enforcement didn't say anything. I don't know who was spreading that around about the 6 minutes of audio, but it is odd that it would match up with getting to that area and then nothing after that. But look, they would have to do it quick. All right, because there's no room for error if we're to believe that they made it home at 7. That's what's been said. Then Katie said 15 minutes later, Sebastian takes like the garbage to the end of the driveway. Now, one thing that doesn't add up for me there is that I don't understand why Sebastian got out of the car every other time that Katie would let him out of the car and she would proceed to pull in the driveway. At that point, wouldn't he just get out of the car and take the can to the end of the driveway? Why would he wait and go in there in 15 minutes later and take it out? Why not just take it out right then when you get home? but that didn't happen. She said that about 15 minutes later, after they got home, he took out the trash. Did he forget that he had that chore? I don't know, because usually people on the spectrum are very regimented, and I doubt that he forgot. Unless maybe he didn't like taking the trash out. I don't know. I probably wouldn't like taking the trash out either if Chris Proudfoot, traumatized me with throwing out my belongings, having me throw them out and then take them to the end of the curb. That might, instill a little bit of, a bad memory on that. That's right. That's right, Faye. Well, the FBI flyers, they don't say Sebastian was last seen at his house, in my opinion. No, they don't. They say in the area of Stafford Court. In the area of Stafford Court. No, he's never heard that audio before. No, he hasn't, Detroit. I mean, I just think that it would be nice as a courtesy to share that with him if that's, part of it. You have a blessed day too, couponing. KK had a podcast with CP acting like Seth, and he was wearing glasses. They may have been amber in color, in my opinion. Oh, are you talking about the sunglasses that he had? I do remember that. I think I got a picture of it. Hold on. Is it an overlay or is it a background? Oh no, it's a background because I'm like, this is not normal. Okay, hold on. Let me go ahead and make myself a little. Are you talking about these glasses? Because Seth is wearing these glasses. Seth is wearing his sunglasses. I bet you can't really see it in this one, but I know what you're talking about. I do. What a jerk. What a jerk. All right. So, let me go back to, so I showed you guys those basins, like just so we know what we're talking about here. Sorry if we got off track a little bit. But I enjoy your guys' comments. Okay, so let me go ahead and present this again real quick. Jen's going to explain this.
Yeah.
Got it.
What would make the most sense, because I went there.
Yep.
I went there right after Sebastian went missing, and I saw that big hole, and I thought, oh my God. He may not have been seen. He may have fell in here. He may have had an accident. Oh my God. Have they checked it? And I know that they checked it. I know that they put cameras down. I know that they put, yeah, but did they look at the basins? Because it would be hard to look at for a camera to go through each one of those basins, going through all of that water system, and you losing that electric, because how you're going a half a mile and you're going through multiple basins.
Okay, yeah. So this is a great point that Jen is making, and also Groot says hyperfocus is a common thing in autistic and ADHD individuals, and is common when doing something they're particularly interested in. I do it all the time and end up forgetting to eat or drink for 8+ hours. Yeah, I can see that too. I get hyper focused in a way as well, like that, and I get that, and two. I don't know. Katie says he was playing in his room, right? Like he played until he had to go to bed at 9 o'clock, is her story. So I wonder if he started getting into something like that. And then, she's like, hey, you got to take out the trash. And because that could really be a legitimate reason, or they had that conversation again, and help me out, group, please. They had a kind of, it seemed like a heated conversation at Texas Roadhouse. And those are the tidbits that, again, I don't want anybody mistaking me, but look, or misunderstanding me, excuse me, when I say it, because it's like that, those pieces that we learned from the Texas Roadhouse are invaluable. And even though they might have been out of order or presented in a way that the person who was showing it to us wanted to present it, there's also a lot to be said about Katie and Sebastian's body language. Absolutely. there's something to be said about that body language. And it's undeniable when we look at it, because whether we're a parent ourselves or we've had people who are parents and they've scolded us in a situation, um, we are absolutely going to recognize that. And many people did recognize it. And so I think it's just important to remember that part too, that maybe he was feeling a certain type of way when he got home and didn't do his normal routine. So nothing was mentioned about that part either, Funtuski, which I find to be odd since it was a Sunday night. Now, as you go into the work week or the school week, you kind of get in the groove, right? Like Sunday is the day that you're going to, and Monday is going to be the dragon ass day, right? Because you've had the weekend. Sebastian had a long day, in my opinion, for anyone, right? You're going here, you're going there. So, oh, thank you. Thank you, Witchy. And thank you very much, Rosebud. There was no stimming during that conversation. He didn't look happy about whatever she was telling him. Yeah, I agree with that, Gru. And I think that is a huge piece. And again, I don't want to seem like I'm not grateful, because I'm super grateful for it, because it puts things into perspective, especially when Katie said things like he wasn't even in trouble, or he wasn't in trouble. I don't know why he walked out the door, and then Chris would echo that and say, yeah, I mean, it's he wasn't in trouble or anything. It'd make more sense, or excuse me, Katie said it would make more sense if we had been fighting. And then Chris goes, well, or if he was in trouble, and he wasn't even in trouble. But how would Chris know that? Because I mean, that's the last thing I'm gonna ask, I guess. I mean, maybe I would, because it would speak to him running away. But I wouldn't, as a step parent, say, was he in trouble? And I would think in the event, I mean, Katie would have told him, but she's not going to say he wasn't in trouble, right? She'd mainly tell him if he is in trouble, not really if he wasn't in trouble, right? So it just doesn't ring true. None of it makes sense, Yeah, I don't remember the E's sharing it either. If there's proof of it out there, I want to know. You guys know. But I have to look at things like that, because if I don't, I can't operate off of assumptions. It's easy to do. It's common to do, but it's hard, and it's hard not to do it, but you just have to make that effort not to. You have to have the receipts. Yeah, exactly. And settle down. Yeah, so Sunday would be the night, right? To make sure your backpack is by the door, to make sure everything's signed and all your homework was done. I'm sure they did that on Friday, but I'm just saying. I remember them talking about Sebastian's routine after the fact, and Chris was the one that presented his routine, by the way. And he did say that he came home and he would do his chores and homework right when he got home from school. But that doesn't make any sense that he would do his chores, I guess, either, because I guess his Sunday chore was to take out the trash, because, you don't put the trash out every day. That was just something that was, pretty much put in there. Yeah, I think so too. He wasn't in trouble, but in my opinion, in that video, it looks like she was talking to him as if he honestly was, yeah, in trouble. I agree. Um, thank you, Devin. That's so sweet. Thank you very much. Because he's obviously always in trouble. Well, when CP's around, that's a good point, Detroit. You know? Yeah, 6:35 to 7:15. Yeah, I'm wondering, Faye, and that's the thing too. There could have been some sort of an altercation that we have no idea about, you know?
I just think that when I saw the culvert, I was like, okay, well, we got a whole half of a mile that goes all the way up there and we can't see it. We can't check the basins. So that's a problem. And until they're cleared, that's a problem.
I mean,
And we don't know if the otter has been through there or not.
I know,
Because
right? And then
he's working with the TBI and it's an active investigation and he can't tell us anything.
well, whoever left that wide open too, like that my gosh, like if I moved in
So
that
they were all
subdivision-
wide open, but that one was the biggest one that would have been very easy for Sebastian to fall in or to be put in. There were two that were big. I mean, it was a brand new, just constructing, but they didn't have anything around there that would
That's what I'm
protect
saying.
anyone from, and it was so dark at night, dark that you wouldn't have been able to be walking into that, big gaping drop.
I'm saying there was small children, you know what I'm saying? Like they should have put some kind of barrier around it. Just a lot of things just don't make sense.
Right.
Crazy. That's a lot of
Yeah, so-
risk.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to explain, but because some people were saying, well, we got to call this person, we got to call this person. Well, we can't call anybody other than, what we did. And what we did is we reached out to him. We talked to him about Sebastian's case. He confirmed that he is working and dedicated to working to find Sebastian with the TBI. He's been working with them. He's going to continue to work with them. And that's all we need. That's what we needed to know.
Yeah, that's a very good point, little Miss Sharon. 1, the audio, 2, taking the bin out, 3, thud, 4, 3 a.m. lights. Why all this? What is all this, right? Why all that stuff if he didn't make it home? Yeah. I mean, I'm there with you because it's like I'm pretty much 50-50. Like I'm like maybe he didn't, but maybe he did. And like you said, I mean, there's a reason for those 3 a.m. lights, in my opinion. And I don't know why they would take the risk. And I know I've said this too before because I just don't think that they would have taken a risk unless something major had been messed up, right? And I do think that the Texas Roadhouse green hoodie situation is very confusing and odd. And I don't think there's many coincidences, right, in true crime. So it stands out to me. Katie advancing on the green hoodie, even though she had no idea who that was. There being some sort of a commotion. What was the commotion? I'd like to know that. We still don't know who Green Hoodie is. No one knows. No one knows. And people have said, I know who it is. No, you don't. No, you don't. We don't know. We don't even know who the yellow jacket and the black sweatshirt guy who saw the commotion, who they are. Because they would be able to tell us what the commotion was about, if anything. But we don't know. And again, it's been said that people know who that is, and then a local person told me no, that is not. They do not know who that yellow jacket guy is. So interesting. Lots of hearsay, lots of rumors, lots of speculation. But I get you, Miss Sharon. I mean that this is all strange, and for people to say, "Oh, it's nothing," very strange. So,
did Splash clear him? Because, and we ended that conversation with, okay, great. Thank you for your service. If Splash did not clear all of those basins, hopefully you and the TBI will do that in the future.
Yeah.
And that's all we can do. That's literally all we can do. We did what we could do.
They can't use a drone in the waterways. I would think that they they could possibly use a camera or something.
Like I said, the Otter, that's the reason why we reached out and the TBI is in contact with him, because the Otter is going to be the way to go in order to search the basins. And if you don't know what basins are, if you don't know, Google it. It's really, it's going to show you the way that the water system works. If you don't have any idea of the way that the water system works, then you want to know, especially with this type of conversation, because even the cameras, Well, they've got to go to the 90-degree angles. They got to go up and down. They got to go all the way down into a bunch of water that is just settled and it's muddy. You can't see.
It's not going to be
An
visible.
otter is the way to go. And the fact that this guy has trained an otter for human remains, I think that should be what we take from this is that, man, not only did he train that otter to do so, but he is working with the FBI and the TBI looking for Sebastian.
Yeah.
We just don't know. And I don't know that he's going to tell us and he's going to respond back and confirm that Splash either did or didn't clear the basins and the pipes in this new construction area. We don't know if he's going to tell us that information because he did sign an NDA with the TBI.
Oh, wow. Wow. Gosh.
All right, guys. And I also want to point out what Jeff says here. Jeff says, imagine every storm drain on the curb driving through your subdivision. Everyone has a basin and a catch point. Every single one of them has a little basin or a catch point, right? Because that's where the water's coming in. So they want to catch that debris. And again, that's how we're going to be able to utilize the Otter to just check those basins for us and let us know if it detects anything. Right? So it's not like he'll be having to travel through the piping or anything like that. And if he did, he would come to that next checkpoint. Right? So.
That's.
Yeah, like Jeff said, imagine every storm drain on the curb driving through your subdivision. Everyone has a basin and a catch point.
Yeah. And see, what's wild to me.
Sorry, I had no idea that they were going to read that part off. Sorry about that, guys. But then again, I also remind you guys about the 500 human remains sense that can be detected by Splash.
In my area of town, especially it being new construction and stuff, they should be like on top of that. You know what I'm saying? Especially with all those storms coming through there. They should have been cleared, in my opinion, because, just say.
Yes, Witchy, that is true. Yeah. It's not a dumb question. Yeah, the basin is directly under the storm drain grate. Right. So just how it was in the picture, how you have curbing on either end, but then that hole, right, the grate, underneath there is the catch, and underneath there is the basin where debris would catch, and then everything would be underneath there. The water's on top. But great question.
Let's use Knoxville, for example. They keep the roadways clear. They clear all that out. So it just like puzzles me as to why they would just leave that, clogged.
Well, the culvert, I don't know for sure that it's clogged. I'm just saying that it's not dripping, and the culvert really, it's either, for me, it's really neither here nor there because I'm talking about the entire system with the basins. That's the focus. That's the reason why the TBI wanted that Otter, or they should want that Otter, and that is to clear those basins because there's a bunch of them where underground, you got a half of a mile underground where it's going to catch debris. It would catch remains, and they may not move from there because they are so settled into mud. I think that is where I really want, us in the chat and people to just, study the water system, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's not like you can just take a camera and go all the way through there and go into the bottom and go into each one of them. And, it's going to be, it's a lot more difficult to search under the ground and, those basins. It's not like you can just open up a door and go down in there and look. And the camera, an underwater camera is just not going to suffice. The Otter would. The fact that the TBI is talking to this handler and the fact that we are talking about it, maybe the TBI will listen to us. Maybe they'll, if they haven't cleared it, we don't need to know if they cleared it or not. But if you didn't, you're doing Sebastian a disservice. why are we looking all in the creek and everything if you haven't even cleared the basins?
Gotcha. Yeah, that should have been one of the first things. I mean, it makes no
And
sense.
if it could have been, we just don't know because they're not going to go, hey, Kiki, hey, Jen, this is all we've done in the investigation, so we
Yeah.
don't know that they haven't done it.
Yeah. Let's just pray that,
Let's pray that if they haven't, that they will.
Okay, Paige. Paige sent me a
No.
text. My daughter has the phone right now, but she says it's the post about the smell. I'll post that on my wall for you guys to see.
But anyway, I mean, what Seth wants us to do is just hand out flyers.
Okay.
Seth is very adamant that Sebastian is alive and that they put him somewhere. And that's what, no matter what country, what state, what city, wherever you're at, talk to people about Sebastian, get his name out there, get his face out there. And let's just keep talking about him because there's a lot of people that don't even know that Sebastian's missing.
Yeah.
And what basins.
Gotcha. Yeah, that should have been one of the first things. I mean, it makes no
And
sense.
if it could have been, we just don't know because they're not going to go, hey, Kiki, hey, Jen, this is all we've done in the investigation, so
Yeah.
us in the chat and people to just, study the water system and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's not like you can just take a camera and go all the way through there and go into the bottom and go into each one of them. And, it's going to be, it's a lot more difficult to search under the ground and,
And thank you so much, Little Miss Sharon, for gifting a Lady Freedom's Raw Narratives membership. I wanted to go back to Jeff's comment really quick, too, guys, on here. And please say thank you to Little Miss Sharon. Welcome to the Dragon Tribe. And thank you, Little Miss Sharon. That's so sweet of you. Okay. Drea made it. Okay, awesome. Aw, wonderful. Thank you guys, or thank you, Little Miss Sharon, so much. But I did want to go back just a little bit to Jeff's comment because he had said something interesting here.
Those basins. It's not like you can just open up a door and go down in there and look. And the camera, an underwater camera is just not going to suffice. The Otter would. The fact that the TBI is talking to this handler and the fact that we are talking about it, maybe the TBI will listen to us. Maybe they'll, if they haven't cleared it, we don't need to know if they cleared it or not. But if you didn't, you're doing Sebastian a disservice. Why are we looking all in the creek and everything if you haven't even cleared the basins?
Gotcha. Yeah, that should have been one of the first things. I mean, it makes no sense.
And if it could have been, we just don't know because they're not going to go, hey, Kiki, hey, Jen, this is all we've done in the investigation, so we don't know that they haven't done it.
Yeah. Let's just pray that,
Let's pray that if they haven't, that they will.
Okay, Paige. Paige sent me a
No.
text. My daughter has the phone right now, but she says it's the post about the smell. I'll post that on my wall for you guys to see.
But anyway, I mean, what Seth wants us to do is just hand out flyers. Seth is very adamant that Sebastian is alive and that they put him somewhere. And that's what, no matter what country, what state, what city, wherever you're at.
Okay, this is the I thought I went back too far, but I didn't. I got it. Okay, so Jeff says the pipe leaving the subdivision from the last retention pond is over halfway clogged with debris, mud, and silt. Jen has photos on her last live, right? And we saw those. So that's another thing too. There's some stuff gumming up the works, clogged pipe.
Talk to people about Sebastian, get his name out there, get his face out there, and let's just keep talking about him because there's a lot of people that don't even know that Sebastian's missing.
Yeah.
And what if we just don't know?
Hey, Real, thank you for coming in.
But anyway, girl, I'm going to jump down. All right. Thank you
All
for
right.
allowing me to come up
I've
here and explain
I
it.
got my kiddos getting kittens and everything else. So,
All right. Peace out, y'all. Thank you,
all
babe.
right. Thank you for coming.
Okay, guys. So, that I just wanted to kind of show that again. too, because like I said, Jen and our friend Jilly had gotten confirmation on the fact that the TBI has been working with this search and rescue group, right? And I did drop their link too on my community page, so please go sub up to them because they're dedicated to finding Sebastian. And I think anyone who's dedicated to finding him is good in my book. And I'm just hoping that we can get the otter. I really want to get the otter. And yes, Seth, I would love to pet the otter. But, you know, I definitely think this would be a good place to check off the boxes, right? Even if we don't find anything, just some place to check the boxes off, because you know that way we know we can look somewhere else. And I'm just really hoping that we can do that. I'm gonna try to go live again tomorrow during the afternoon. I know I've been saying I'd do it this week, but there's just been a couple of things that have come up. So, and I do want to talk about little Jasper's story as well. So we'll pull that information in. But I love you guys so much. And I appreciate you guys being here with me and talking about this, because I think it's really important. I think if we can put some public pressure on the situation, that they will go and utilize this otter to clear these basins out. Clear the spots where, you know, people can't get to and where water rushes through at, you know, below the earth, right? I just think it's very important. So I don't know if I would think so. Well, I'll say Detroit. In my opinion, I would think so. Yeah, because they hold jurisdiction. So yes, I would think so, and I would think because there was an NDA signed, you know, with Mike and the TBI, I would imagine that they would just enlist his help and ask him to come do it. I think that's how it would work anyway. So I do think that they may have put him in a school, Claudia. I do. Yeah, and we've talked about that a lot. And a lot of the, you know, when we're looking means motive opportunity, right? Definitely come back to a school being what they would have liked to have done. And I even did research on, you know, why parents would typically put their children in a school, right? Even if it's like super strict or, you know, it's unorthodox, you know, compared to what the parents implement as discipline in their home and that sort of thing. Most of them had good intentions behind it, you know, but again, it does appear that they didn't want Sebastian around anymore. And that bothers me. You know, I hate to say it. Yeah. Yeah, the water sewer treatment plant. Yeah, Caleb Harris. Yeah. Poor Caleb. Aw, thank you, Witchy, and thank you, little Miss Sharon. Thank you guys. Aw, and thank you guys so much for being here. Yeah, I don't know if it would be the same system. Um, yeah. I would imagine that's how it works in many places, but that's a good question, Detroit, you know? I know, and that's the thing, Faye. The one that they wanted to send him to would have been paid for by CPS. It's only by CPS referral. So if they got a referral for that school and decided to put him there without anybody's knowledge, that would be interesting. But they may have found someplace else that was like that where the state pays for it. Because let's not forget, they were taking kids from New Hampshire and putting them in Gallatin Youth Facility. So 6 children, I believe it was. So yeah, they definitely do interstate. Now some schools don't do that, but some of them do. You know, so yeah, they the 29 associated with Bledsoe Youth Academy. Yeah, they all still exist. Yeah, they're run by an outfit called Youth Opportunity Investments. youth opportunity investments. And I've done live streams about it. So everything's on the table, guys. And, you know, again, I'll let you know honestly what I think of things. Um, you know, we might not always agree, but I think it's important that, you know, we discuss these things. In my opinion, I think that we just really need to go back to the beginning and keep trucking along there, and then get these basins taken care of. Hopefully we can use Splash the Otter. That would be amazing. And you never know, we could find other people who have been missing or something to that effect. So we just never know. But I think we absolutely need to look at this, you know, like we would anything else. So yeah, absolutely, Claudia. And you guys all have a wonderful rest of your day. And I will see you guys all next time.